Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is 4Player Podcast, episode 676. It is April 8th, 2021. My name is Nick Henderson, and joining me tonight, I was about to say, just out of habit, I was about to be like, joining me tonight is Brad Simons, but Brad is not here. Nolan Headstone.
Hello! I was trying to do a Brad.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah,
I'll take it. Christopher Davis.
Hello.
And Ed Mitchell is joining us tonight. Hello, Ed.
otherwise known as Poor Man's Brad.
Poor man's Brad. Aren't we all poor man's Brad?
A little bit, yeah.
Brad
Like that title.
It's like Brad's not here tonight. No one's gonna show up to watch this. But you know what? Welcome to the show, Ed. We haven't had you on in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I hear since the last time you were on the show, you got your hands on a PS5.
Yes. Sorry.
So, no problem.
I can't remember the last time I was on. I think I was on for the Game of the Year awards.
Sounds
but
about
my last
right.
regular show was
Sounds
like
right.
So
I said a few weeks. I guess it was a few months.
So got a PS5. It was an interesting experience. So I used like Warrior64's Twitter to tell me about Best Buy.
I think we all did.
I sat on the Best Buy thing trying to wait for the light to turn yellow. Got it, went to the store to pick it up, and I'm sitting there in the parking lot talking to my mom on the phone, and this guy next to me pulls up, and he in his car, and he's waving, and I'm like, what's going on? I roll down the window, and he's like, hey, are you here? What are you here for? And I said,
It's like, oh my gosh.
PlayStation 5. He's like, I got a 3080, motherfucker.
That son of a bitch. Dude, Best Buy is the worst.
He's like, I got the Founders Edition. I'm so excited. And then this whole time my mom's on the phone, on speakerphone in my car. And she's like, what's going on? It's like, hold on, Mom. I'm dealing with the person. And then the guy
I'm gonna take care of this man.
Mom, video games are serious business.
Yeah. The guy, the Best Buy person comes out, he puts it in my car, and the guy, I turned to the guy and I said, "Oh, bye, have fun with your 3080." And he goes, "Oh, hold on, let me take a picture of you." And so he takes a picture of me, and he's like, "You look so happy." but before the guy came out, I almost forgot about this part. His wife or girlfriend or whatever was in the car too, and she was like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about. and then she's hanging a mimosa basically out the door, and he reaches over and he grabs her arm and says, keep it inside the car. And then
that was definitely an alcoholic beverage.
turns away from me, right? And then she's giving him a mean look because he goes, love you, and then kisses her, and then she goes, I love you too. And so they're having this moment while I'm waiting in line at the Best Buy for my PS5. So
I was totally waiting for that story to turn into the Best Buy.
Yeah, the guy
handed you the PS5 and it was like, sorry, we're actually out of stock on the 3080, and then you drove off with your middle finger in the air. But that's pretty good too.
Ted, you have no idea how many times I've sat on that Best Buy website waiting for the fucking cart to turn yellow for a fucking 3080, and it just doesn't for half an hour, and it's like, oh, you're still here? Fuck off. It's gone. Why don't you fucking tell me?
I have two monitors, I'm sure a lot of us do, but I had the Best Buy website zoomed in all the way, so the only thing you could see was the add to cart button, and it was only thing that was on my right monitor, and I was programming on my left side and keeping an eye out for when it flashed yellow.
So you could literally just click anywhere on the screen and you'd be adding to cart.
Yeah, basically.
Earlier this week, I sent Nick a link to a Best Buy page for a 3070, I think. And between the 1 minute between I sent him the link and he clicked on it, it was out of stock.
It doesn't even take that long. It takes less time than that.
I was actually sitting in the 4Player staff channel when he posted that. I was like, oh shit. And I clicked it almost as soon as it came through, and it was gone. Just sold out.
Oh, and then, okay. So this is also part of the story. So when I got the PS5 ordered, it like didn't go through. The charge didn't go through. And it's like sitting in my cart, and I'm like spamming the button to try and get it to go through. Right. Finally, they like accept the order, but then they send me an email and says, we couldn't process your payment. And I was like, oh shit, like how, like you can go update it. And so I went to go update it. I tried the same card again. It didn't work. I tried a different card. It didn't work. And then the third or fourth time I tried, it was like, if you try one more time, we'll cancel your order. And I was like, no.
That happened to me at Best Buy when I tried to buy Bernadette like an iPad. Several years ago.
At Best Buy and Walmart and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so I called Best Buy and they were like, "Oh, everything looks fine. Like, call your bank and they'll like figure it out." And so I was like, "But they said if I try one more time and it fails, then you'll cancel my order." And she was like, "I don't think they're going to do that." So. And so she's like, oh, wait, can I like call you back and have you push through the order so it doesn't get canceled?
Man, that's like skating on thin ice there.
And so I hang up, call the bank, and they're like, okay, it's all good. Like we cleared the charges. You can have them try again. And so I hang up the phone and call back Best Buy, and this other guy picks up, and I was like, hi, I'm here to like push through an order that I've already made on PS5. And he goes, and so he like walks away to talk to someone, I guess, or whatever, comes back to like, sir, the PS5 is out of stock right now. I was like, I know, I already had the order. Like, I just need you to like
bitch, you have no idea what you're talking about.
And he's like, I don't know if I can do that or whatever. So he's like, all right, I'm just gonna, while you're on the phone holding my hand, I'm gonna click the button again. And then it went through and everything was fine.
Like the bank was like, some crazy person was trying to process a $500 or $600 order 18 times. That's why we froze your account.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, the good news is you got one.
Yeah. And I've been playing, I don't know if we want to just go right into it, but I played and finished Demon's Souls, and I
That's a good video game.
Beat it 3 times to get the platinum.
On PS5?
Yep.
My God, Christ. You lapped me twice? That was on my top 10 games last year. I haven't even finished it.
Oh no. Nick. Okay, so I have like a problem with video game developers that like make platinums like intentionally annoying to get rather than like a skill-based thing, or like randomization stuff like really sucks, but this wasn't that. It was you had to unlock every spell in the game. And for those of you that don't know, in order to unlock the spells, you have to kill the bosses to get the demon souls to then spend them on the spells. And that's how you also get some lore tidbits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like there's a couple of characters or a couple of bosses that you kill you get the boss soul. You can choose to make it into a weapon, or you can choose to buy one of 3 spells. And once you use it, it's gone, right? So you have to basically beat the game 4 times total, unless you save scum, to basically unlock the
and you clearly took the high road and you did not save scum.
No, I save scummed.
You did for the last one.
I didn't want to do it a 4th time because it's 2 different achievements for like all the evil spells and all the good spells, right?
Gotcha.
So I got all the good spells, and then I downloaded my save from the cloud, and I got all the bad spells. So
look at you.
So yeah, and that was about like 90 hours or something like that.
My God.
Which was most of my January and February, I guess. But
well, I mean, there's also that upper limit to that new game plus gameplay. So like you'll eventually max out your character, and the game just keeps getting fucking harder and harder.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a major difficulty spike after I beat it the first time and going into New Game Plus. But when I beat the second time and went into the third or New Game Plus or whatever, it wasn't that noticeable. And I had like a pretty beefed out character where I was like, I could switch easily between spells or range or knight, kind of like sword and board kind of stuff. And it wasn't that big of a deal. But yeah, no, fuck all video game developers that don't like respect people's time. Like I'm getting older. It's like I want to play more games. I don't want to play less games, but I also have this like part of me that wants to be a perfectionist and get a platinum.
Maybe trophies and achievements were a mistake. Just
I mean, you want to talk about a game that fucking does not respect your time? Look at Mass Effect 1. To get 100% all the gamer score for that game, you had to beat the game as each class once.
that's
no, thank you.
I miss the days when like early Xbox 360 where when you got 1,000 gamer score in a game, it would like unlock some theme or something. Like that's cool. Like to get like more than just like a thing on your profile, like to like you had the ability to like customize the little avatar you had like dancing behind you.
Yeah. I do remember that getting platinums would unlock costumes for your avatar or whatever.
I like that ODST like platinum. So I had the guy, the little ODST, little chibi kind of character as my background. So that kind of stuff's cool. And like PS4 had like the dynamic themes or the static themes and stuff like that. Like putting that kind of stuff behind, like you could buy it if you want to, but if you unlock the platinum, you also get it like that.
I really hope we start to see more of that. I mean, because right now PS5 doesn't have themes, and I'm really hoping that's just kind of an early console generation thing, and that's eventually going to change. Well, I'm really tired of
for 4 years now, and you still only have black and white as your themes. But don't worry, they've hit 12.0 of their version releases. So
yeah, I don't think Nintendo's prioritized that in their hardware development. But what else? So you played Demon's Souls a lot. Yep. What else did you do?
I mean, we talked about it during the Game Awards show, but I played Astro's Playroom that first night I got it, and beat it.
Good.
Platinumed it and loved it, and it was great.
Oh yeah, so good.
And Katie was playing it. I think actually during the award show, she was playing it behind me while we were talking about it, which was cool.
Nice.
And then I've started Spider-Man and Miles Morales, and I'm about like maybe 2/3 of the way through the story of that game.
All right. That's pretty good. I will say that game is a really good story and soundtrack.
I love
and speaking of games that respect your time, both the original Spider-Man and Miles Morales are both very achievable platinums.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the Miles Morales one you have to beat the game in New Game Plus.
But it's actually very quick to do the story.
Quick, right? It's only if you just beeline the story. In the original Spider-Man game, the New Game Plus achievement was there, but it was on that like second category.
That is becoming that is so. Several games have done that. Like The Last of Us 2 and Days Gone both come to mind. They've broken out their like post game content, so you can get a platinum just for in that first playthrough if you try hard enough. And then they've broken out like anything beyond like New Game Plus or DLC or whatever as their own separate line item.
Intention was for DLC, so you could have so it didn't look like you just had a bunch of like unearned achievements or whatever in the base game. But developers that use it for like New Game Plus and stuff like that are cool. Or like Chris Davis said, that the achievements that are like unlock or beat the game in Mass Effect 1 with every single character class. That's the cool thing that could be like a separate like category.
Yeah.
Not required for the platinum.
This group of trophies is for people who have the time and want to do it.
Right? Like that's real. I mean, the platinum is a lot of people will say the platinum's for if you like really love the game. I mean, I got the platinum on Bloodborne. I've gotten the platinum on the Ninja
Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, but also the Sekiro. I love these. I love the From Software games. It's crazy that I haven't played any of the Dark Souls ones yet.
I'm currently going for platinum on The Last of Us Part 2. And I only have like 5 left I gotta get. So
I'm
doing New Game Plus.
I still have Last of Us Part 2 and Final Fantasy VII Remake installed on my PS5 so I can platinum. And I was actually going to, when the patch comes out, the PS5 patch or whatever comes out, I was going to jump back in and do like the hard mode of all the chapter missions and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So. All right. So we're going to talk more about, Ed's, you're going to talk about Outriders tonight. So we're going to get there in just a second. Before we get too far, of course, I want to remind everybody a couple things. One, if you're not a part of our Discord yet, please jump in there. It's discord.gg/4Player. Also, all of our year in review content for 2020 is out there. So if you want to see what our personal choices are for the top 10 games of the year, you can find all those over on YouTube, on 4playernetwork.com, on Twitter, all that good stuff. Check them out. And yeah, that's good for housekeeping. We have a lot of games to cover tonight. So why don't we actually start? We like to start with like the new hotness usually. And I think I'm gonna be honest, Ed.
It Takes Two.
That's technically, you know what? Technically, that is true. But since I've already started this intro, we're gonna roll with Outriders first.
Outriders. after
Roll with Outriders.
But I don't know anything about Outriders, so I don't even know how to set this up, other than I know I've seen a lot of people talking about it. So
yeah, it's kind of like gotten the zeitgeist in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And It Takes Two is also like kind of on the zeitgeist right now, but in a kind of a different way. But I mean, this game is cool. It's a kind of online. I guess you could consider it a games as a service, but I think they do a really good job of kind of it being more about drop in, drop out co-op experience.
And this is People Can Fly, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
The Bulletstorm folks.
Yeah, so it's more drop in, drop out co-op rather than like kind of your Destiny, like with raids and dungeons and stuff like that. And it's mission based, but they have a couple different sliders, I guess you could say, on the way you can like redo things. But it's more like Diablo in the sense of, if you guys know about like when Reaper of Souls came out and Diablo 3, you could like basically pick whatever chapter you wanted to jump into, or like even like what point in the chapter, what mission you wanted to jump into. And
like story wise?
Yeah, story wise. After you beat the game for the first, you could just scroll to that area and up the difficulty, and then like grind a boss for a drop, right? And so you have two different like sliders. So you have the story points is what they call it, and you can slide back on the timeline. So you can't go forward, obviously, but you can slide back. And then there's a world tier. And so if you look at the top of the screen, you see I have an XP bar that's in blue, and then world tier bar. And so by playing the game, you unlock the next world tier. So I'm at world tier 3 right now, and in a little bit I'll unlock world tier 4.
And what does that do the world tier?
So world tiers in these games, they're like difficulty managers and reward managers on top of the base difficulty and treasure giving experience.
So the higher it gets, the harder it gets, but the better rewards you get.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so and unfortunately, from what I've heard, like once you get into the like much higher world tiers, it's also the number of enemies that spawn, and so that can get kind of out of hand. But I think like the
artificial difficulty, in other words,
kind of, but I don't know. Like I'm finding that like just from leveling up the world tier and me playing along, I'm feeling the difficulty rise, but it's not like unmanageable. Like I cut this footage down a lot, but I ended up dying in this area like 2 or 3 times. But it was mostly because like you kind of got to learn the jive of the game. So I'm playing as a pyromancer, who's kind of like what they call the medium range, like mage kind of character. There's also like Techromancer, which is kind of like an engineer, like healing class, but like support class. And then the like more tanky Devastator, and then the like close range one is called the Tactician or something like that. But all of your different characters have an ability or like a passive that allows you to heal based on the abilities you use. So my passive as a pyromancer is anytime Trickster. Thank you, Blobby. So my passive as a pyromancer is to, whenever anyone's burning, then me shooting them heals me.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So and so you have only 3 skills you can really use during a fight, but you end up unlocking like about 9 different skills. And so you can mix
and then
match.
You can mix and match them. Okay.
Yeah. And so some of them like synergize really well together, and I actually end up unlocking my 4th skill here. And it's kind of like a AoE attack that if any of the enemies are burning, then it like makes them like take even more damage than normally would. My 3rd ability here is kind of cool. It's really long range, so I can basically fire it across the map. But if I kill the person while they're on fire, they'll explode and kill whoever's around them. And it goes through cover. So I can use it to shoot through cover, shoot an enemy behind cover, and there's a bunch of other people behind cover. And then if I kill them in time, it'll explode and kill all the other people that are right there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of, if we want to talk about like the story a little bit, it's funny. The prologue was like really got me. Like I was like, oh, like this sounds super cool. It's like Earth is dying. You need to go to this other planet and settle it. And the Outriders are the people that like are the first vanguard onto the new planet, right? And it's like, and then an electrical storm happens.
Are they there to like to take over, to like wipe out the?
No. Because there's no humans on this planet or like sentient aliens or anything like that. It's just like, let's make sure everything's okay before we send and this is like the whole impetus of the game, but this is a colony ship after Earth died. So this is humanity right here.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, oh no, this is not like a Christopher Columbus situation here. We're not sending them in.
But
that's
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, and so like the prologue was interesting, and then you get hurt in the prologue, and they have to put you in a cryo till they can heal you. And when you wake up, you're like in the middle of a war zone, and turns out that the electrical storms in the area basically knocked out all advanced electronics. Humanity's back down to basically just having guns and like kind of our age kind of stuff, and everyone's just fighting over the resources that are left. So that's kind of
isn't that a great way to make a futuristic game? Is have the first 5 minutes be futuristic, but then everything gets reverted, and now it's all just modern shit.
Yeah, but so I will say that you don't drive in the prologue, but you do end up getting a car that you can drive around once you get to some of the bigger maps. So it's like, I wouldn't say like open world in the sense, but you have a lot of kind of openness to the different maps in a way. They're kind of like
so far, like at least the footage. Yeah, so far the footage you've shown has been pretty linear. Is this just like a certain like
this is a story mission, and the like linearity comes from when you're like doing a quest. A lot of times they'll like take you to an area and you'll fight some enemies as you get to an objective, and then when you're done with the quest, you go back to the location, which is kind of more like the Destiny-like kind of style in a way. And to be honest, I haven't gotten far enough where I'm like unlocking the car and starting to drive around to kind of like really experience what the rest of the game. I shoot the ore here and I don't realize that I'm supposed to like go up to it and press the E button. Okay, so I'm tired of games that make you have to hold a button in order to do a thing. Yeah. Especially when holding that button is like longer than it really needs to be. Like whenever you do the harvesting, I assume there's like maybe some unlock later that makes the harvesting faster or something like that, but it's really annoying right now. It makes me not want to do it at all. So I skipped ahead. I cut the footage a little bit and skipped ahead to where I fight this boss. And so I'm fighting what they're called alters, which is what you are. And so you get to fight like these kind of boss-like characters that have powers like you do. And so I mean, I would say
cutscene.
Yeah, so I would say that I am like really liking this game, but I wouldn't say it's like the best game I've ever played.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
So this is People Can Fly. This is the guys who did Bulletstorm. And they have a history with like Gears of War, right? And
I think they did Judgment. Is that right?
Yeah, they did Judgment.
They were up against Poland for a while.
I think you can definitely kind of see the influences here, and I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this on Twitter to the point where I was like, maybe should I be playing this? I know nothing about it, but should I be playing it? And is there anything you can kind of put your finger on to say like this is why it's such a prominent part of the zeitgeist right now, or is it just kind of because it's a slow year and this is kind of
it did come out at the perfect time, right? This is like a very slow time, but I will say that the system, there's a lot of systems in this game of like you can modify your armor, you can and with that allows you to have your abilities do more damage or make the people vulnerable, and then you could have skills that like modifications to your skills to make vulnerability like do even more damage and stuff like that. So it's a lot of like the kind of RPG mechanics, and there's a skill tree in this game. It's maybe like I would say maybe a little bit more of the boring kind of skill tree, like the kind that Brad doesn't like, where it's like, oh, you get plus health, plus like 10% health on this one, or plus 6% damage,
instead of like juicy skills that you really want to.
I mean, later in the trees, you get more juicy skills and stuff like that. But I mean, I think that's really what are getting people's like juices flowing on this game. Nolan, you have a question.
So first off, you seem super fucking spongy. Like you're just taking damage left and fucking right, and just
it's because I'm burning him and healing. because of it.
So if you weren't this pyromancer or whatever, would you still be taking that much? Like, would you be cool taking that much damage?
It sounds like
I know you said
every
everyone
class
has a way to heal themselves.
Yeah, and so
it's
yeah. So the trickster, which is the more close range one, you basically can kill. You basically heal by killing enemies close to you. So you're supposed to like get into melee combat and really do some damage locally.
Is it almost like from Mass Effect, like the Vanguard or whatever character where you gotcha.
And you get like cool abilities with that one too. You get the ability to like slow time in your area, so all the enemies will start shooting slower and stuff like that. Mine's more of like kind of hang back a little bit and do some damage from like medium range.
It seems like a trickster character in this boss fight in particular would be at a severe disadvantage because there's no other enemies in the arena to heal himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested to try it out and see how it's different. But a lot of the like kind of bossy like encounters have a couple enemies around where you can
Gotcha.
So next question. Yeah. This seems very like Destiny-y, obviously.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning that you can play it online and stuff. How does this or like with other people? How does the story stuff work when you have multiple people? Would you just have multiple people fighting that boss, or?
So you'll have there's like a hub area, and you have to like go to the exit of the hub area, and like everyone votes to go there. And then then once you're in the like outside of that area, you all are moving around by yourself and doing your little things. But yeah, so I think you might even be able to like go your separate ways and like complete your own little side quests or whatever. But there's only
still playing together.
While still playing together if you want to. But like I think like if you bring my understanding is that once you get to higher world tiers, it's like maybe not necessary to bring other people along, but it definitely like obviously helps with
highly recommended.
Highly recommended.
Green Toast does mention something because I had asked about like the trickster specifically having issues with healing himself. He says there's also weapon mods that can leech life from foes as well, so that's probably comes into play in situations.
And so like that's what I'm saying. Like all the systems kind of like feed back into each other quite a bit. So,
and I think that's probably honestly where it's getting a lot of its attention, because I think a lot of people wrote this game off pretty early on because I think Bulletstorm was kind of divisive. Maybe that's not even the best term. I think a lot of people just didn't care about Bulletstorm. I don't know. The humor rubbed them wrong. Who knows? But and I think when this debuted, it gave people like, I'll be honest, like I don't think this looks particularly visually I think that boss fight was cool and that cutscene was pretty cool, but like the environments scream very like dull Gears of War. Or it even makes me think
Gears of Boar.
I'm not in a very exotic area
but there are exotic areas.
There are exotic areas, yeah.
Okay.
And so the big thing for you to understand is I'm recording this on my PC, and I only have a 970, so
I do think it looks technically fine.
It looks pretty good, and I'm running it on Ultra somehow. But I think like even with like on Ultra with a crappy graphics card, it's still going to be like kind of look kind of jank. And so I've also heard that like the PC version is kind of like fucked in a way, like graphically. And
it had a rough launch too, didn't
they need to add like more like DLSS. They don't have that in yet, and a couple other things. But I would say maybe like it's free on Xbox Game Pass, the Xbox Game Pass, not the PC one. So if you have like an Xbox Series X for like the four of us that do, you can play it on there. I have it downloaded on my Xbox One. I want to see if it looks any better on the Xbox One. But like if you want to play it, I would maybe recommend just playing on the PS5 or PS4.
Kind of to illustrate my point about like just I think a lot of people wrote it off because of the aesthetic design. What is that game? I can't remember. Maybe Chris Davis remembers. I think it was Insomniac. They announced this game that is super colorful. No, it was. No, there was. Maybe it wasn't Insomniac. Oh God, who was it?
No, it was Insomniac.
It was super colorful, and then they redesigned, like they rebranded it and redesigned it and relaunched it, and it was like super brown, and it was like, and then nobody Fuse. Does that sound right?
Brink?
Somebody help me out.
No, not Brink. No.
Madden Magiker and I think I'm right. It's Magiker in chat said Fuse as well. I think it's called Fuse. And before it was called Fuse, it started out with a different, more exciting sounding name, and it was super colorful and had a lot of personality to it. I remember seeing it at E3 back in the day and was like, that looks pretty cool. And then it disappeared for like a year, and then it came back and it was like, what the fuck did y'all do?
It was originally called Overstrike.
Okay, that's a pretty generic name
right.
too. But point is, they didn't do it any favors. And I feel like just kind of visually, when you first see this game, it leaves that kind of impression where it's like, this is very brown. But maybe that's just because of the environment that you're in here.
You know how when you guys are like early in a RPG and you just get a new piece of armor that just increases your like base armor rating, and you're like, okay, I'll just equip that because it increases my basic stats. Like that's where I am right now in this game, where that's kind of what I'm emphasizing on. But I've heard that like you can really get to a point where you can throw away a legendary item because your epic item has this one like modifier that really helps with this other modifier or stuff like that. And like, because
with world tier systems, like having a rare item can be better than a legendary if it's level 3 world tier versus level 5 world tier.
Yeah. But that I think that's not, I don't even know if that's like what I mean, and more just like mechanically the armor, the modifications, the stuff like that is like more fun, I guess, like playing in that with that style versus like what this legendary item would give you, or maybe just keep it in your stash and then when you get something that works better with it, you can pull it back out. But yeah, no, so, I mean, I'm enjoying it. I think I'm going to stick through it and play to the end of the story at least. And from what I've heard, it's like they really want to like create new stories in this game, not like new dungeons or new raids or anything. Like I said, there's no like dungeons or raid concept like there is in Destiny. But it's really just like have some fun playing with your friends.
I think it's cool when there's like unexpected underdogs like this, because I think a lot of people expect this to kind of be like just failure at launch, but like it sounds like it's quite the opposite. And I think a lot of it's a combination of the right time, and you know, maybe it's mechanically more satisfying than their previous games. It's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
What are the long-term content plans? Do you know?
So right now, like they had a pretty rough launch, so they're gonna like try to fix a lot of the technical problems in the game first as their focus. But it's like their social media person has been like on the whole time answering people's questions and stuff like that. So it's like
he's like, let me sleep.
No, it's not even really that. It's just like he is, or they probably are like being really responsive to people's feedback on social media. So like, yes, they had a rough launch, but the expectations for this game were so low that they didn't have the Cyberpunk problem where a rough launch meant the end of the game, really. And I'm actually like kind of like enjoying the story, even though from what I've heard, the story, like people don't care about the story, but I'm kind of enjoying it a little bit. There's a little bit of mystery there. I'm kind of interested in seeing where it goes.
Hey, not everything has to be like fucking like Oscar bait. You know what I mean? Like these kind of things can be, you know,
fuck the Oscars.
Fuck the Oscars. Speaking of fuck the Oscars.
Oh, good transition.
Damn. Man, Brad would be so proud of me on that one. Nolan, I hear you've been playing It Takes Two.
Yes, I have.
Does it,
Bernadette
in fact, take two?
I mean, yeah, I think this game would be very difficult to play by yourself. It is definitely a co-op game. We were talking about it a little bit before the show. Obviously, what's his name? Jeff something.
Fuck the Oscars guy?
Yeah, fuck the Oscars guy. Whatever his name is.
No. I call him fuck the Oscars guy.
Yeah. Their previous game, A Way Out, think of it very much like that, Nick. It is basically 100% split screen. Yeah, Joseph, there you go. Yeah, Joseph. I knew it was a J something. 100% split screen.
Nolan and I played A Way Out. Nolan and I played A Way Out.
One sitting
together. Yeah.
One sitting or two?
I think it was
one. It might have been two. I can't remember.
Who knows?
But yeah, so this one, and as we talked about it before the show, Bernadette and I have not finished in one sitting because we talked about the fact that apparently it's like 11 to 12 hours.
Yeah.
That's a pretty
it is a
beefy game.
Yeah. And I'm hoping the story keeps up with that. And the main reason I say that is because while the gameplay is actually really fun, and you can watch a bunch of the gameplay if you're watching us live, or if you just look up any videos, you can see it. But the gameplay is really good. The story is a little interesting. I mean, I don't remember how much was kind of brought up before. I didn't really follow the game too much. We saw a couple trailers for it or whatever, but I didn't really know about the story. But the whole concept is husband and wife want to get a divorce because they're not happy anymore, but their kid doesn't want them to get a divorce. And some magic happens, and all of a sudden, her parents are now these two dolls. And there's a slightly,
Uh-oh.
I don't want to use the word racist.
Oh no!
But it is a very there's a book who's clearly supposed to be Hispanic, and he's got a very thick accent.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. Yeah,
and he's a little also sexual too. And he's like, "Oh no, y'all are gonna get back together," and they're like, "No, we're getting a divorce." And he's like, "Well, fuck you, you're getting back together. I'm gonna force you by making them
That's
go through all
creepy.
these obstacles." Yeah, it's a little weird. Like I kind of almost want to like skip the cutscenes because the gameplay's really good, but it's just thank you, Cobra. Spicy in quotations is a good way to describe him. I don't know. It's a little weird, is all I'm going to say. The actual gameplay though is so far has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed like the platforming and the puzzles. The whole It Takes Two part is very good. I think so far they've found a really good balance of letting one person do one thing and kind of automatically knowing when you get to a section, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Even though we're still fairly early on and the game's kind of constantly telling you what to do, hopefully that kind of goes away. But like you can see when I
it seems like really varied, like you're always doing something, like just the sheer amount of stuff you've already done in like the 5 minutes we've been watching this footage has been pretty impressive.
So like how much I'm trying to remember, like A Way Out had a lot of like kind of environmental discovery stuff, you know, like you go play the piano or play the guitar in that one couple's house or something like that. Like, I don't know if you're like there yet, but I've heard there's a little bit of that.
I think because we're still early on, and honestly, the footage you're watching is of like the first few puzzles. This is like less than 20 minutes into the game.
All the props they're giving you.
Yeah, I wanted. Oh yeah, some like I said, like the platforming and environments and shit. All of that's really good.
It's kind of a bummer to hear you say the story is so weird though, because I was kind of looking forward to playing the story.
I hope it gets better. I like if that book could find its way out of the story onto like a pile of other burning books or something, that would be great. Because like I think they just needed some sort of medium, I guess, to kind of explain what was going on. Because like
there's the book.
Because these aren't like they're supposed to be her actual like parents, and they've been transformed into these things, and who knows if that's actually what's going on, but they as of now think that is what's going on. And so I guess they need some sort of driving factor, and I don't think a racist book was the answer to like sorry, I don't want to say racist. What is a like stereotype? He's not racist, he's a stereotype of like this like Latin lover kind of deal going on. Like everything he does is slightly sexual. It's weird. Like at one point later on, they're talking about a vacuum, and he's talking about how he can really suck. And it's like, well, yes, it's a fucking vacuum. Of course he sucks. Why do you got to make it so fucking weird, book? But yeah, so like the whole thing is like they wake up and they're like, oh, what's going on? Why are we like this? And he's like, oh, it's because, I'm going to make y'all stick together, and I'm going to teach y'all what romance is and what it means to be in love. And they're like, no, we're getting a divorce.
There's something about that is just so fundamentally like I get the sentiment of like wanting two people to stay together, but going to the point of like, no, I'm going to force you. That's borderline uncomfortable.
So like the kid is writing, the book.
That's my assumption, and the reason I think that is the reason is because the kid, because she's got giant elephant ears, like overhears her parents from across the fucking courtyard talking about how they're going to get a divorce, and she has these two little like dolls, which are what ends up being the dolls that you play as, and she's like, "Oh no, not gonna get divorced. I really love you. Oh, I love you too." And they start kissing and stuff. So my assumption is that this is all supposed to be in the kid's mind, but I still think you could have done that without the book. I think it would have been a little. I think it would have been a little bit better if these people, and so far, like, I don't think they did the best job setting up their marital troubles. It was just more so like, oh, you forgot her appointment? Divorce. Like, they didn't do a very good job, but I honestly think they could have done a much better story. And so far, like, the voice acting and the banter and the back and forth between the two characters, Cody and May, is actually really good. But I think it would have been better if it was not a book talking to them about cooperation, and more so them just naturally realizing, hey, we have to cooperate if we want to get out of
like
this.
Thrusting his hips, going like, collaboration is the key to a relationship.
Dude, it is weirdly sexual. Like, I would not be surprised if this book was whatever his name, Joseph, whatever, if this was 100% him, like he's like, he's like, oh, we have to have that book in the game, blah, blah, blah. I would not be surprised if he was the one that was fucking pushing for this.
Maybe he just got really drunk one night while watching the Page Master, and this game was born.
It's funny you say that, Nolan, because I faintly remember on the Kind of Funny Games cast them saying something similar to that in terms of like, this is like what Joseph Ferris feels like is important in the game is the book.
Like he says the book has to be in the game. But like, honestly, if every cutscene where the book was, if you just took that out, I think the game so far would have been at least 2 to 3 times better. Because it's just really weird. Like I said, if you're looking, I have the subtitles on, and that's because they are constantly talking. Think of something like a Dragon Age or something, where when you're wandering around the world, they just say things back and forth to each other. Just based on what's going around in the environment. It's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Natural.
No, I say like just when you interact with someone, one of the characters does something, another one will respond to that and stuff like that. And so I think they do a very good job of that aspect of the game, and a feeling like these characters are like, oh, blah blah blah. I understand that the reason they wanted to have them talking to someone else is because they have to talk. Like at one point they're talking about the vacuum, and the reason the vacuum is like an enemy or a big deal is because the vacuum broke. The husband was using it, and he was only supposed to vacuum up dust, but he vacuumed up like bigger chunks of stuff and broke the vacuum.
Divorce.
And so it's his fault the vacuum's broken. But the wife said she was gonna fix it, but she never did, so it's her fault. And so that, like, I guess they have this back and forth, and at one point, like they interact with the vacuum, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna suck you up." And the guy's like, no, like May can fix you. She's an engineer. She's actually a really good engineer, and like starting to compliment her. And so I guess that's one of the reasons they tried that. But I still think you could have gotten around that by like, maybe having them come across something in the environment. Organically. And she's like, oh, this is so, and he's like, no, May, I've seen you fix things 100 times. I know you could do it. Stuff like that. I think them just interacting with each other and encouraging each other and learning to be like relearning why. Don't get me wrong, I'm not super far in this game, maybe this still happens, I don't know, but learning why they fell in love in the first place and had a kid or whatever would be so much better than a fucking like stereotype book trying to force them to, like, once again, like I said, maybe this is all through the eyes of the girl, whatever. It's still fucking weird.
Well, I can't. So cool. I look forward to hearing.
But yeah, so far though, yes, 100% recommended so far. As little as I've played of the game, we're only like. Yeah, no, the mechanics are great, and my assumption is later on, like, you notice the first area was just kind of a bunch of platform, but now this whole area is all based on vacuums. It's all based on, either being sucked into something or being blown out of something, and that's because that's what the whole level is about. So my assumption is the next area, which we got to and started, which also this area does end in a boss fight against the vacuum. My assumption is the next area will be completely different. So I am excited to play more of it. Like I said, it's just I wish the book wasn't a thing.
I have one question, because I have this purchased. I'm ready to play it. Robin and I are going to play it together. and I've seen there's been a lot of talk about whether this is actually surprisingly challenging and may not be, first, if you're playing with someone who doesn't play a lot of games, I think Robin will be fine because she actually plays games quite frequently, and I think a lot of us are probably in the same boat here. But someone maybe listening at home who wants to play it with a significant other or something who doesn't play games, and I think Brad said, I could be wrong, I think Brad said maybe him and Malia were struggling a little bit. I don't know.
He was saying that they were having some troubles, and I don't know. Maybe it does get more difficult than this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Bernadette has died a few times. I've died a few times. Like it's one of those things. It's a platformer. Things surprise you. They kind of pop up. Oh shit! I didn't realize that was going to happen. You die. I think it's one of those things where, first off, you do need to have a good relationship, because at any point in time when, yes, there's multiple people and you know what the other person, especially if you're the gamer and the other person is the non-gamer, you definitely need to know how to tell them how to do things without getting mad at them.
Communicate effectively.
It's like fucking lovers in a dangerous space-time. It's one of those things where as long as you are good at, cooperating with each other and talking to each other. And like, this was an example of, I was having an easy time with this part of the puzzle, but Bernadette was having a difficult time. And I was like, you know what? Let's just switch roles. I'm going to do this, and now you do that. And all of a sudden, we solve it on the first try when each other is doing the other part. And so it's just one of those things. We didn't get mad at each other. We just realized it wasn't working, swapped characters, and everything ended up being fine. God.
That's the game, though.
Yes, no, it is. It definitely is. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not getting a divorce, and this game is not going to keep us together. That's not the plan. But like I said, so far, besides the book, everything else has been fantastic. I'm going to continue playing it. Hopefully, Bernadette does continue playing it.
Just from the little bit that I've seen, it's like seems like a really good, like you said, mechanically, and level design. And stuff like that just looks so cool,
dude. The level design is great. The platforming is very tight. You have your main mechanics are, you have a jump and a double jump and then a dash, and you can combine those in any way. You can jump, dash, jump. You can do whatever, and so it does get really good. Okay, apparently Bernadette says we are getting a divorce. Just kidding. But anyway, everything platforming wise, environment wise, everything so far has been fantastic. And if you've been watching any of the footage, the environments are great. The lighting is great. Like, just like the stuff they have populated the world with is great. I'm really enjoying it so far.
So, it's funny because I honestly, going into this, I wasn't really expecting the reaction you've had to the story. Not knowing anything about the story myself, other than the very basic premise and setup. I didn't even think about the book. I honestly was not when I think back to my time with A Way Out, I ended up not liking the story very much. It started out cool and then ended in I just didn't like the way it ended.
Kind of flopped at the end,
But I remember Brothers being pretty good. In fact, especially kind of culminating at the very end. But that was also a very much shorter experience. So they haven't necessarily been the most consistent writers. Which,
I mean, Brothers was like, the entire story was to build up to a mechanic, right?
Yeah,
that was the whole idea of the game.
So what I will say though is the writing out of every cutscene has been great. Like I said, whoever wrote these characters, wrote their banter, wrote kind of just the things they say has been great. Like, it's the only problem I have so far is the fucking book.
And Joseph back there, because I believe he's the game director. I could be wrong. I'm wondering if he's in the room with the writers. He's like, this is all great, but you have to find a way to make this book happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man.
He's like, make his accent thicker. Gyrate more. He needs to gyrate his book hips more.
Somebody in chat said this, and I forgot, because when they announced this, the whole shtick in the announcement was that he was doing mocap, and he was doing mocap for the book. So Joseph, the fuck the Oscars guy, is the mocapper. He's not the voice actor.
Of course,
he's not the voice actor, but he is the mocapper. So that may explain something. I don't know. But I'm very much looking forward to playing this myself, because mechanically speaking, it looks fun as hell.
Yeah, and like I said, I really do like the playing it split screen. Like, I know you can play this completely, and that's one of the nice things is that we didn't bring up. Besides the fact that this game has like flying Roombas, which is weird, coming up soon. But if you buy this game, you can give essentially a code for someone else to play it with you. So they don't get a copy of the game, but they can play it with you remotely. Yeah. Provided it's on the same console platform. So I think it's cross gen, but not cross platform. So you can play with a PS4 and a PS5 or an Xbox One and Xbox Series X, but not PlayStation and Xbox, whatever.
Cool.
But I like that they're like, hey, essentially, like this game, you can't play it by yourself. But if you have a friend that doesn't want to buy the game, you can essentially have them play the game for free with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
which is really cool.
It's just like a way out where you still are in split screen, even though
you
you're
are
playing. Yeah.
That's okay, cool.
That's how it was with the way out. You still saw everything they were doing too.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure yet because we haven't like tried that or anything. But like I said, like I love everything about this. I think they did a really good job, especially with the split screen. I think everything runs great. And yeah, for Cobra and Chad asking, yes, this is 100% a 2-player game. Yep. It takes 2 to play this game.
Literally, it says it right there in the title. It's
so much meta with this game.
I know.
Well, we'll follow back up with you, in an upcoming show, so we can get your final impressions of it. I'm sure Brad wants to say some stuff about it as well because he's playing it, and hopefully by that time I will have also played it. So we'll revisit it. Before we go to a break, I want to just real quickly talk about a game, a newer game. It's actually a game Nolan mentioned on the show we did a few weeks ago about the demos. We just went through a bunch of new indie demos. I am playing Narita Boy.
Tell me about that. I'm interested.
How's that soundtrack, Nick?
Soundtrack is pretty good, and I don't normally like to, because I when I go in to talk about a game, I usually like to I like to talk about how I feel about a game necessarily, but I feel like I saw a really great quote that I think kind of nails it with this game. Because let me just say, I'm enjoying this game, but I think it was the Game Informer review summed it up pretty nicely. And I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't really know who wrote the review. I apologize, but he did say this game has more style than it knows what to do with, because it is so visually enthralling. Like it looks incredible. It has this really nice CRT kind of filter on it to make it feel really old school. The enemy designs are actually pretty cool. You're obviously running around with this laser sword and stuff, and it all takes place inside the digital kingdom. So you are like this boy who's been basically absorbed. It's kind of like Tron. You've been absorbed into this digital kingdom, and you are their hero. The prophesized hero, the Narita Boy, and you're trying to stop this, like, I guess what amounts to like I don't know, a virus or something that's kind of threatening to take over this kingdom. So you are trying to stop this dude and his minions from taking over this digital kingdom, and it is just packed with like all kinds of cool like metaphors, like kind of built into the environment and the dialogue. Like you're meeting all these people and the way they talk, it's very like everything is kind of especially if you have any kind of background at all in like coding or programming or anything, it's less like, it's less about like using actual like coding language that people would recognize, and more about just dropping terms like that you would recognize.
Right.
Yeah, like so like you see the word source code, loops, arrays, just Boolean, just kind of like just natural language you would use a lot when talking about coding and stuff. And that's kind of just worked into the way these people talk, which is all really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But like my problem with it is that it's kind of it's kind of shallow for what the entire time I'm playing this, I'm thinking to myself, this game would be absolutely incredible if it was more ambitious, like something like Hollow Knight. Like honestly, if this was like a Metroidvania and they had fleshed this world out, and like, because you are collecting abilities and new movesets and stuff, almost like you would in a Metroidvania, but you are moving in a linear path through a world for the most part. And you're just kind of progressing the story and going from level to level to level. If this had like a world you can kind of explore at your own will, and collect things that would let you progress in certain areas, like Hollow Knight, I think this would be, absolutely insanely good. But unfortunately, it's kind of too straightforward. There's this weird inconsistency between like how it looks and how actually like mechanically ambitious it is, which is kind of unfortunate. But to Nolan's point, it looks and sounds amazing. I love the soundtrack in this game. I love the way it looks.
Have you seen any of like the 50s style flashbacks?
Yes. Yeah. So kind of the the underlying, so the story I kind of described is kind of that's like what you're doing, but like the underlying story is, as I understand it, is you are trying to. So the creator of this world, I guess, who is it? A human person, like actually built this world. I guess they're treating it kind of like a game. Like he's like the game designer or whatever, and he had suffered some sort of trauma, and you are unlocking these hidden memories that he's kind of like hidden in, like locked behind, um, gates in this world. So you're kind of, as you're trying to stop this virus or whatever, you're also trying to unlock the memories and help this designer or whatever. And you're finding out a lot about his childhood and stuff. So every once in a while, you unlock a memory and you go into this thing, and you see like brief glimpses that have a totally different art style. It's kind of like black and white, and it's talking about him growing up in Japan with his parents, and his mother got sick and died, and his dad didn't take it well, and that's kind of as far as I've gotten so far. But like that kind of stuff is pretty interesting, and I'm really interested to see where it goes, especially since I feel like this is all kind of like I'm not finished yet, but I suspect it's kind of talking about how he built this world as like a coping mechanism or something, and like this is him trying. This was his way of dealing, and this is all going to culminate in like finding out some big secret about his life or whatever, and helping him overcome it. I don't know. And as you're going through the world too, you're seeing him because at the very beginning you see him coding away, and then all of a sudden like there's this like flash of light, and he like gets knocked out, and then that's when this other kid gets sucked into the kingdom, into his like computer screen, and becomes Narita Boy or whatever. So I'm guessing you're trying to save him kind of ultimately as well. So I don't know where it's going. It's cool. And combat, but the thing is, combat too isn't the most responsive. It's a lot of
look very tight.
It could be a lot tighter.
Yeah, and there's a lot of instances where you're trying to like time dodges and stuff, but it is not snappy like something like Hollow Knight. Like it is not precise really in any way, which is unfortunate. So honestly, I'm enjoying exploring the world and kind of unlocking the secrets and stuff, and just kind of seeing where the world goes more than I'm enjoying the actual act of being in combat.
So, yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, Nick, that the Game Informer quote is good, and then just kind of what you were saying is good, and that's kind of what I got out of the demo, and I was hoping the main game would have a little more. But yeah, it seems like the artist or artists, the multiple of them, and the like writers of this game were like top notch, but more so like the level designers and the actual technical stuff is where it's super lacking. And if like they had a little more talent, like it could have been like fucking top 3 material type stuff.
I'm wondering I'm wondering if it's almost like them wanting to do this format. It was kind of their way of another way of like creating this sense of like this classic feel, or this like old school, because it's obviously going for very like old school 2D side scrolling vibe. Sure. And maybe they didn't want it to be too ambitious because they didn't want it to feel too modern, but at the same time I feel like they should have, if that's the case, they probably should have just ignored that that instinct and said, fuck it, we can make a game that looks old school but plays more modern, because that would have been a better game.
Oh yeah.
But I'm still going to finish this. It's not a super particularly long game. I mean, I think that's just another byproduct of the fact that of the kind of game that it is. It's not particularly long. It's like 5 or 6 hours. So I'm going to finish this weekend probably, and then move on to something else.
I think it's free on Game Pass right now.
It is. That's how I'm playing it. It is free on Game Pass on PC. I don't know about Xbox, but yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. Just don't go into it expecting. I almost went into it expecting something like very Hollow Knight-esque, but it is definitely not that. Unfortunately, a lot of cool visual stuff that's worth seeing though. All right, I want to take a quick break. I got to medicate this cat who I'm sure you could hear yelling, protesting behind me. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Chris Davis has some thoughts on a game he would like to share.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Days Gone when we get back. So if you're listening at home, don't go anywhere. We have some questions to answer from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch, of course, as well. So if you're listening at home, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm going to hand it over to Chris Davis now in just a second. But before we do that, Chris Davis?
Yes?
I just want you to know and remember that out of respect for you, I left my opinions of Godzilla vs. Kong off of social media for you.
I mean, you mostly left your opinions off.
Mostly.
You still had things to say.
One thing may have gone. Okay, sorry. I'm just kidding, of course. You've played all the way through Days Gone.
Yes.
Monster.
Yes. So before we begin with Days Gone, I want to make a note here for everyone. So when I do these impressions, impressions, I often get flustered when people kind of ask me questions, interrupt me while I'm speaking. So I have decided that I would like to test out a new way for me to give impressions. So if you don't like it, tell me to fuck off in the comments next week.
Oh, God.
But I have prepared a statement that I would like to read.
No. Did you hire someone for this?
No, I wrote it myself.
He's scripting his impressions.
I have scripted out my impressions. I would like you to refrain from commenting until we have reached the discussion period after I finished. But yeah, so I have been
happy.
Yesterday.
I honestly, for a second, thought he was going to pull up a video and just play back the video during the podcast.
All right.
Okay.
Let's hear your statement.
Let's settle in.
Let's all settle in. Okay. So.
Your title card is wrong, Chris Davis. Sorry.
Well, it has just changed.
Okay, there you go.
And Nick is gone. Or is
I'm here.
Okay, there we go. All right. I've prepared a statement. Days Gone is a video game. Recently, Sony Ben Pat pushed through a PS5-focused update that updated the capabilities of the game to 4K 60, and given that it was either this or Yakuza 7, I decided to try out Days Gone because I never played a Studio Ben title. Yakuza 7 was also recently featured in several podcasts, so I would much rather play a title that I remember little about than something I already know plenty of what to expect. Now, Days Gone was Nick's most beloved title of 2019, and I understand why. Ben's studio clearly decided that they wanted to take the Rockstar gameplay formula of a large open world with scripted missions and semi-dynamic random events and make it their own. It would not be too far off to call Days Gone Red Undead Redemption in the modern day with bikers and motorcycles instead of cowboys and horses. From the in-game cinematic intros to the encounters you experience while out in the world, to even the animation style for Deacon as he tries to interact with objects, everything here screams Rockstar. And it's closer than most Rockstar imitators have come in the past, but it's not quite on level. I believe that the best thing Days Gone does right is the treatment of the zombies, also known as the freaks, that inhabit the strangely diverse Oregonian countryside of the game's setting. The AI of the freaks is the right kind of dynamic relentlessness that makes them a considerably lethal package, especially in large numbers. In the first half of the game, the few hordes that there are, and side note, as the game loves to gate you off of a lot of content based on your progression, these hordes are an absolute threat as a challenge to overcome. But the particularly cool thing about the freaks is that they're not solely focused on the protagonist, but will instead attack anything. Deer, local wildlife, human NPCs, and even other types of freaks. One of the more entertaining activities I like to engage in is finding an enclave of enemy marauders, starting a firefight, and then hiding nearby as their misdirected gunfire attracts the local freaks in the area who proceed to significantly thin out, if not wipe them out. I kind of love that aspect. On the flip side of that, though, I feel that the game's over-reliance on the motorcycle is a detriment to the game's flow. As you can see in this footage, I'm not allowed to engage in a chase after a bad guy in a mission because the game thinks I don't have enough gas. Now, considering that you can only drive the rare motorcycles that spawn on the map and no other vehicles, and you can only fast travel on your bike using fuel, and that in the first half of the game, your bike absolutely guzzles fuel to get around. Every 10 minutes, you find yourself going and searching buildings and buildings and locations just to find fuel so you can progress. Now, this is addressed by upgrading your bike eventually, but it only becomes tolerable in the latter half of the game when you have a big enough tank to travel more than 10 miles without having to pull over to fill up. Overall, I did enjoy playing through Days Gone. I put in 51 hours total, according to my PlayStation. And I look forward to a sequel given the game's post-credit stinger. I think that Bend Studio has a lot of potential to work with now that we have a new generation of hardware at our disposal. And if Days Gone 2 can build upon the systems they created for the game, then we're in for a game that even Brad may want to play. I would now like to open up the floor to questions and discussion.
Okay. Chris Davis, I'm gonna go with Ed. That's good. Give you a clap for that one. Okay. I'm good. Go ahead, Ed.
Why don't you do this all the time?
It's never occurred to me before. So
one thing I will say.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
I get it, Chris Davis, but there are definitely several things that I kind of like. I feel like now I need to take fucking notes because there were several things I wanted to talk about, but I obviously didn't want to interrupt you. But there were several things kind of
video, right?
Yeah. So because you were mentioning, and I'm just trying to obviously how memories work. You remember the beginning and the end, but you were talking about the gas, and that just I can't not think of that and think of State of Decay 2. And that was one of my biggest frustrations with that game is gas was not a concept in the first game. Well, gas was, but it was more of a resource. Fueling up your car was not a concept. But the second one, they added it, and holy fuck, it was horrible. Like your cars could drive maybe the closest concept would maybe 2 or 3 miles if this was a real world, and they would just run out of gas. And it was the dumbest shit in the world. And I didn't realize, because I've never played Days Gone, I do have it downloaded. I've never played it, but I didn't realize that gas for your motorcycle was so scarce.
Well, it's not scarce. It's just you just run out of it so fucking fast.
Well, I think first of all, it's any game that uses a system like that for gas and kind of thing. It's a balancing act, and I don't know if any game has found the perfect balance of it yet. I think if this was a situation where they didn't, if that wasn't a resource, it would be a wasted opportunity because there's a lot of tension that comes from the idea of running out of gas and being like, fuck, I got to find something quickly. Cause you can end up in situations where you're there's a horde closing in on you, or you're right in the middle of fucking nowhere and you don't have much in the way of weapons or ammo on you at the time. And it's I need to find gas. And sometimes it's not even about pulling up to a gas station and filling up or finding a car or something where you can pull gas out of. It's you can go searching buildings and stuff to see if you can find gas tanks, and that can be scary in and of itself, especially if it's nighttime and sometimes there are freakers inside the house, and it's do you risk going in there to find gas? And that could be really exciting.
But Nolan, the thing about State of Decay versus this is that you could drive almost any vehicle that you find in State of Decay. You could only drive your motorcycle and a select motorcycles that spawn in from a mission.
Gotcha.
I mean, because you are essentially upgrading your bike the entire that is the central piece of the game.
Do you fuck your bike?
It gets intimate after a while.
I have to ask Chris Davis.
Some light grinding.
I have to ask Chris Davis.
Yes.
First of all, let me just say I am really glad you enjoyed it. I wasn't sitting here expecting you to I know this is not a perfect game, and I know this is also just even not the most innovative game, and I know not everyone's going to love it the way I love it. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. What did you think? There's certain characters in this game that are really great.
Boozer's great. Deacon, he grows on you after a while.
He talks a little too much, but he grows on you.
Ricky and Iron Mike are great. Schizo's a shithead.
Fuck Schizo.
Spoilers.
The guy at the lake, Cole, or whatever his name is, the conspiracy theorist guy. His radio broadcasts are just all sorts of bullshit.
Yeah, he's he's this weird far right.
Yeah, Tucker, the old lady who runs the work camp. She's a bit of a bitch.
She's a bit of a bitch, and among other things.
I loved Lisa. I think Lisa was a great character.
Dude, that's what I'm saying, dude. This game, surprisingly, is like, for a game that honestly pulls from a lot of other places, and it's very recognizable to be kind of somewhat, I'm going to use the word formulaic here, but it is kind of.
Mm-hmm.
The characters they use to like tell the story are really great. And I don't know about you, but like his whole thing to find his wife or what happened to his wife kept me going for that entire thing. I was like totally invested in that story. I don't know if you were, but I was all the way.
I mean, I was invested. I was just completely surprised by that halfway point in the game where it completely changes.
Yeah.
I won't go into what that is or what that means, but
how often mid-chase do you have to stop and swap out your spark plugs and your oil filter?
Like
Jesus Christ.
Not often. And not
often,
that
but
kind of thing doesn't usually happen in the middle of a chase.
Like, this is a particularly bad chase I had because I ran out of ammo on my pistol, so I can't fire a gun, and all I can do is like ram my bike into the enemy.
Which is why he's having to stop and fix things.
Yeah.
Cool. Last thing I want to ask, because we do need to move on because we still got other things to talk about. How's the PS5 performance stuff? Is it great?
Really good. This is good. It's not quite a solid 60 throughout. There is some stuttering and everything. But it's smooth as butter otherwise.
Awesome.
I only ran into like a few bugs. The main ones I would encounter were like the AI for human NPCs would kind of just stop working. And so I could just walk right in front of them and just do whatever and they won't react. It was kind of weird. But I mean the Freaker AI was great. Yeah, this game is great to play.
Play some of the challenges, dude. The challenges are so good.
The hordes are a lot of fun.
Play the challenges, you unlock patches that actually appear on your like biker jacket in the main game. Sorry, we need to move on. But we've talked a lot about Days Gone. But thank you for playing it, Chris Davis. I'm glad I'm no longer the only person on the site that played it and enjoyed it. So
yeah. Who knows? There may be other people on the site that might actually play it.
We'll see. All right. Ed, you also wanted to talk a little bit about Bravely Default 2?
Yeah. So I know Brad kind of did the highlights of it of it on the last show or 2 shows ago or something like that.
He talked about it with very much like Monster Hunter's about to come out, so I don't think I'm ever going to finish this.
So like, I mean, I played the first 2 games and like liked them but didn't love them, or like both of those games. Like that series is kind of known for like having like an interesting twist there at the end of the story, and that's like right where I am about to be right now is the interesting twist. So I'm like kind of on the tip of my chair trying to get to it. And you know, I was kind of struggling for a game to play on my Switch when it came out, so I was like happy to kind of get something. And I'm like somewhat infamous maybe for creating like spreadsheets for this game series in particular. Not that spreadsheet, this spreadsheet.
That is wild, Ed.
This is my Bravely Second spreadsheet where I'm trying to decide who is the best like character to for each class. Because
Ed, there's a thing called Google, and you can just like look that up.
You can, sure, but like,
where's the fun?
It's not the same, Nolan. I'm trying to discover it on my own. But no, I mean, like, so one thing that they did in this game is there is no best character for the class. All the character stats are exactly the same from the start, and no one like the stat growths are entirely dependent on what job you're in, which is cool because that means you can mix and match more based off of your abilities and skills you unlock, and less on like trying to min max or some stupid shit like I do,
which renders your spreadsheet pointless, right?
Well, in this game, I guess, but you still have like good job combinations that you want to kind of stack up together, and so like there was a little bit of grinding that I did to try and get to the like max of whatever, but once you get that, you get like a second ability, and that second ability is really cool to like try and find the right things to gel together with it. So I mean, I'm really enjoying it. I think this as a JRPG on the Switch, I think it's definitely worth people to give it a try. I think it does better than Octopath Traveler did as far as like interpersonal relationship building and stuff like that. And you know, it's interesting. And so I mean, the Switch is going to be my JRPG machine basically for the whole rest of the year. It seems like because I have this Monster Hunter Rise, and then after that, I got Altilia Ryza for the first one for like 50% off. It was on sale in the eShop. So I'm interested in giving that a try, and then maybe playing the sequel after that. So
I like Cobra in chat says Ed wants to be the guy that makes the post that people Google.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Ed's doing.
I don't do anything with the information after I'm done. It just like goes.
He's like, "Fuck you! I don't need your information.
About it.
I'll make my own and then give it to you." Cool. So, well, it's funny you mentioned Monster Hunter Rise. I feel like we should at least now that we're all here and Brad isn't looming over us,
guy.
we can finally say what we actually feel about Monster Hunter Rise. This game sucks. I'm just kidding. I'm loving this game. Nolan, you hit credits in Monster Hunter Rise?
Yes, I quote finished.
Sorry,
that the tutorial.
There's a big
of the game,
there.
Basically. Yeah, so it's one of those things where, like, I understand that since I got credits, that's one of the things I told Bernadette when I because I think she was downstairs doing something, and I was like, I'll be there in a second, but I'm at an important part of the game, and then I texted her and I was like, yes, I finished, so now the game can start. And yeah, it's just one of those things. I understand it. That's how the game works. That now the real hunt begins. Exactly. And so I've done a couple things after beating Magnum Malo, but then yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I just unlocked the quest to hunt Magnum Malo. Is that the last quest I got to do to get credits, quote unquote?
Yes, that is the last quest. Sweet. I will say though, he was definitely the toughest hunt up until that point. I carded twice, I think, fighting him.
Oh wow!
Just because he hits pretty hard and he's pretty, he gets into like fits of attacking quite rapidly, gotcha. And so just be prepared.
So I switched to I've since last time we talked about this, I've kind of actually experimented with some different weapons, not a whole bunch of them, but I went from dual blades to long blade. Now I'm rolling with the insect glaive, which is by far the most technical weapon I've tried using in this game, but also one that I'm surprisingly enjoying. It's really hard to be accurate with that thing. Have you tried using it, Nolan?
Oh no. I've seen videos. I'm good, thank you.
You're like flipping around and stuff, but when you land hits, man, you do tons of damage, and it's great. So and there's a lot of like vaulting into the air and doing somersaults and flippies, and if you vault into the air and land an attack, it resets your ability to vault again, so you can just keep kind of like bouncing and staying in the air for long periods of time if you keep landing hits. It's pretty cool, and I've kind of figured out how to use the actual insect that you send out to leech stat boosts and stuff, which is cool. But I finally had my and I've really been enjoying this. This is my first Monster Hunter game, and I've been enjoying going through all the hunts and stuff. But I fought the Rathian the other day, and I was like, and I know Rathian's like a kind of like
a staple of the Monster Hunter series.
Yeah, it's a major staple of the series. And I see why now. It was a cool fight. Like I loved that fight. I mean, and I've loved like quite a few of these fights, to be honest. But like that, I think that was the first moment where I was like, yeah, I think this is a game that I'm gonna play a fuck ton of. So I'm gonna try and if we finish the show early enough tonight, I might try and fight Magnum Malo, so that way we can get to because I know next week we're talking about, instead of doing a podcast, maybe doing a Monster Hunter night, assuming we're at like higher rank and stuff and we can all play together with Brad. So I'm going to try and get there for sure. This game's pretty dope.
Yeah. I'll echo that I'm enjoying it still. I'm not done with it. Like I said, I finished the game, but that just kind of unlocks new crap to do. And so I'm still going to continue playing it. I've kind of swapped back and forth a little bit between longsword and switch axe. And the the charge. What is this weapon Brad's using in this footage? Why can I not think?
The gun lance?
Gun lance. Thank you. Gun lance. Yeah, as soon as I was trying to think. Yeah, gun lance.
I tried
Those
using
are the kind
that
of three I've
training
been switching back and forth.
It requires. It's very slow. It
is extremely slow.
Fast.
And that's one of the things he brought up last week is that the outfit he is wearing is one of the things that helps him be so maneuverable. And that's one of the things with this game is combining armor pieces and weapons and whatnot. Yeah, the evade extender is the skill that really helps. And so it's just kind of about all learning how that works and trial and error and stuff like that. But it's also one of those things where, like I said, I've only been using 3 out of the how many weapons are there? Like 10 or something like that. I mean, there's probably
like 15 or 16.
However many there are, and how just the fact that each of those just like completely changes like combat style and to an extent almost the gameplay itself. Definitely going to be playing more of it.
That's where
I am excited to start playing it online though, because I've been playing like 90% of it solo. I do want to do more like hunts online.
I feel like I'm getting more and more confident because that was one of the most daunting things about this was, can I actually get to a point where I feel like a skilled player? And I just like going from the starting the game to when we talked about it last week was already a pretty huge jump. And since then, I feel like I've gone so far as well. I streamed it the other night. Brad jumped into Discord a little bit too and showed me a lot of stuff that I wasn't really familiar with either. I'm not really. The capturing thing still kind of eludes me, but he's kind of given me an introduction to that stuff. So there's still a ton to learn. This is such there's just so fucking much to learn in this game. It's kind of overwhelming, but it doesn't actually take as long as I was expecting to at least get to a point where you have the rhythm of the game down, the loop, and then it's just fun while you're also on the side learning all of these crazy things. So, all right, but yeah, next week I think we'll do a special group play of this on the stream instead of the podcast. So,
picking the weapon, by the way, was where I fell off a world. I couldn't decide what weapon to pick in world, and I was like, I'm scared. Okay, I'm going away now.
Did you consider making a spreadsheet? I feel like that would have really settled your nerves.
The spreadsheet is a like a midterm game thing, Nick. It's not a beginning term game.
You don't come out of the gate with the spreadsheet. You gotta.
I have to know the context of the spreadsheet in order to make the right decisions.
Got to let it ruminate a little bit before you're it's time to commit and make a spreadsheet. Okay, I get it. Okay, all right. So now we're gonna move. We're gonna answer some questions.
I'm not done talking about games, motherfucker.
Oh, you're not? What did I miss?
So
I'm a bad host. I'm sorry.
DLC came out for one game that I've played a little bit of.
No.
Binding of Isaac. Repentance came out.
You didn't put we don't need footage for this. We know what to expect.
Well, yeah, that's why I didn't get any footage of it. I don't need any footage. I'm not going to talk about it for 2 hours.
You want to hide his shame.
But yeah, so that came out. I've played a decent amount of it. I haven't played like 20 hours. I don't know how much I played, not that much. But yeah, it completely, I don't say completely changes the game, but it adds new areas. So now after beating certain bosses, you have the opportunity to kind of interact with new levels in the game, shit tons of new enemies and new items and stuff. So it just really changes up it makes the game even more replayable. As someone who's played hundreds of hours of that game and not even unlocked half the crap that there is, there's even more. I think the other day, hold on, I don't know if I have Steam open because I was looking at my achievements or whatever in that game, and obviously achievements are not a true like track of how much of the game you've played, but I mean they kind of give you a good idea, especially on something like Binding of Isaac, because a lot of times it's like, oh, just beat this enemy and you get an achievement. But I've unlocked 227 out of 637 achievements. So I've unlocked a third of this game's achievements. And like I said, a lot of those are literally just beating certain enemies.
The other night when Brad was like, I'm worried, dude. Nolan's hour count on Monster Hunter hasn't gone up, and now I'm like, this motherfucker's been playing Binding of Isaac.
Honestly, I've only probably played maybe 5 or 6 hours of Monster Hunter since the last show. I do plan on playing more.
I just love how Brad's on like video game crack right now, and he accepted our friend requests, or he made friend requests on Switch just so he can like watch our hour count on Monster Hunter and freak out.
Yeah,
what a bastard.
Is there new music?
Yeah, so the new areas do have new music. So that, like I said, it's not just like Afterbirth Plus was just essentially a bunch of new items, and I think maybe like one new boss. Don't get me wrong, I am not a Binding of Isaac expert. No matter how much of this game I've played, there are people out there who fucking devote their lives to it. I don't have every item memorized. That's why I have a fucking mod for the game, and they've actually disabled mods temporarily. But I have a mod that fucking tells you what items do, because what I end up having to do is fucking look it up online because I can't ever remember what an item does. Because there are, like, I don't even know, like, hold on, how many items are in the Binding of Isaac? Let's look that up real quick. How
simple Google search.
Binding of Isaac. There's not like it says there's I don't know how accurate this is. It says 198 collectible items.
Nolan.
Yeah, I know, right? I don't think that's accurate.
It might be time for a spreadsheet.
Unfortunately, this has a table, but the table doesn't have a counter on it, so it's kind of hard to tell. There's a shit ton. There's way more than 198. I don't know what the exact count is. 230, something like that. I don't know. There's a shit ton. 341 items and 178 secrets. But this is a post from fucking 2014. A lot's been added since then.
Is that guy ever going to make something different?
I mean, they made Bumbo, and that was a piece of shit. But I think, yes. So this one, like I said, adds new areas, like new enemy types. There's now enemy types. Like one of the things that's always kind of been in this thing, attribute of this game is trinkets, which are things you can pick up, and they generally have charges on them. So whenever you finish a room, you'll get a charge on your trinket, and then once it's fully charged, you can use it. They added enemies now that will like essentially drain your charge. They're kind of like a lightning bugs, and when they hit you, they don't do any damage. They just drain charge from your trinket, which is fucking frustrating. They've added like I said, some of the new areas are like kind of fire based. Lots of new secrets. Yeah, dude, it's great. Loving it. Also, one of the reasons I haven't put more than however many hours of Monster Hunter is I'm still playing some Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Still having a great time playing that with random people. A couple of friends I've made in the game that I'll play with. But one of the frustrating things, I think I brought it up before, is they seem to kind of change the modes that are available every week. And like one of the modes I always play, they made it like to where the max team size is 2. And it's just like, it's so fucking frustrating to have like a battle royale with a max team size of 2.
I think they brought out prop hunt again for a while. Put that in rotation.
Yeah, they do have a prop hunt in the game. That's not part of Warzone. That's part of just the Modern Warfare, which I actually have been playing a little bit of that. I was messing around with some of the friends I made on the game last night, playing like a sniper, like free for all mode, which honestly, like I was not really excited about, but then it started getting fun, and I honestly do need to be better with snipers in that game, so it was fun to play that. But yeah,
man, this is not meant to be. If you had told me 5 years ago that Nolan would be the one to like get hooked on Call of Duty multiplayer, and like to the point where he's like playing it for weeks and weeks and like bringing it up on the show multiple times, I never would have believed you. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. It's a wonderful surprise. Also, COVID does crazy things. What can I say? We live in a different world now.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right. So am I clear to?
Yeah. Okay. Now we can move on.
Don't forget feedback.
Fucking thank you.
I thought that's
Chris
what he was
Davis.
about to do.
I thought you just
that I was actually just testing you guys to see if you remembered what I'm supposed to be doing. We of course like to read feedback from our lovely listeners for every episode. So from last week, episode 675, we have a couple comments. Haste wrote in. This is a long one. I'm going to try and kind of be brief, but he said, I like the part of the episode where Crispy went, yeah. Crispy got really loud for some reason. But he says, on a side note, I actually got the Fire Emblem 30th anniversary collector set. which included a bunch of cool as fuck original Fire Emblem related merch, such as an art book and soundtracks. Most importantly, though, it included a fake NES cartridge, which has inside a code for the first officially translated version of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the original 1990 game that was Japan only. Damn. The point of that fact is that you were able to buy and download the newly translated version standalone until March 31st. On March 31st, Nintendo executed Marth as well, thus erasing from existence this historically significant and digital-only title forever. However, the code that is included in the 30th anniversary set is redeemable past this date as confirmed by Nintendo. But as I mainly bought the set for the dope retro memorabilia and I don't really ever plan to play that old-ass game, I probably will never redeem the code anyways. Fuck Nintendo and fuck Nick for giving New Hope 3 stars. Way to squeeze that in there at the end.
Even if you bought the physical version of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, you can't like redeem it anymore for the points, the like coins or whatever, because it's like it checks in with the store and it's been removed from the store, right?
My God, I can't believe they actually went through with that shit.
I know.
I feel kind of gross for giving them money to get the game, but also I don't really care because I love having those games together. I mean, so whatever.
I was happy because I bought it physically, right? Yeah. And so some of the game went to, I guess, Amazon, but
which isn't that much better either, I guess.
That's why I hesitated.
Slopdog wrote in and says, "I applaud Nick for giving A New Hope 3 stars." We need to start telling people it's okay to say Star Wars is just okay. Not great, not bad, just fine. But just to irritate the nerds more, please, Nick, edit your score down to 2.5 stars. But for real, this episode has some really potent discussion about media and how we consume it. The scene of FOMO. What is FOMO again?
Fear of missing out.
Okay, the scene of fear of missing out some feel when they find out that they missed content, especially with how Sony is shutting down the PS3/Vita store, which is just another clue how games in general aren't really regarded like art or films are, but more like board games waiting to be taken off the store shelf and forgotten. There's a lot of.
Did you guys hear about like the other side of that? That you could buy the games on the web browser if you had like direct link to the old store view, and they took all that down because it like got a bunch of hits when they were like Sony shutting shit down. And so I had like a tab on my computer for Tales of Exillia 2 because Brad loves that game, and I have the first one. I was like, I never bought the second one. I was thinking about buying it, and I went to go refresh the page, and now I can't buy it on the store. The only way you can buy those games now is by booting up your old console, going to the store. The search sucks in there. I wasn't able. I tried to buy something and I couldn't because it wouldn't like accept my credit card or something like that. And then I was able to buy it on the web store before they took all this shit down. So it was like, I mean, it's what you're saying, Nolan, that like they took things down because they didn't want to have to update and patch the code for the payments processing and stuff like that, which I totally get. But like the fact that games in particular seem to have this like philosophy of not caring about archiving them for historical purposes, it seems like that kind of sucks, right?
You'd think they wouldn't have done this until they had found a way to like make those. I mean, I don't know the specifics of how convoluted it is to make those games available on other stores. Like I guess you can't just play digital PS3 games on PS4 or PS5.
No, you can't. No. So the reason that the PS5 store on the web browser looks the way it does now is because they did a complete rewrite from scratch for it, right? And so like you could tell the difference in like the flows in the web, how it's like completely different, right? And that's why they took down the old store. The old store, the PS3 thing that I was using before, looked like the old PlayStation 4 store on the website, but you could buy PlayStation 3 things on it. So yeah, I totally get it. I totally get it from like a business decision, but it sucks for like you said, the indie game developers and for the consumers that like, sure, maybe I'll never go back and play Tales of Exillia 2, but I like having the option to.
Yeah. Yeah, like if the urge to play something old strikes me, it shouldn't be like I shouldn't have to jump through 100 hoops to make that happen.
Yeah, and like it would be great, sure, if Bandai Namco released Tales of Exilia 1 and 2 as a collection on PC or something like that eventually, right? But like all those indie developers are not going to take the time to port their game over to PC.
Yeah.
Just because the PS3 already had a fucked like architecture anyway that you had to like very specifically code your game for it. And so the work to port it to PC for the money you're going to get is just not worth it, you know?
Yeah.
So that
For
sucks.
sure.
Hold on, Nick, real quick. I wanted to bring it up because I was curious and I ended up looking it up. So Binding of Isaac, there's 3 different types of things. You have items, which is when you pick it up, it kind of changes your aspects, character, whatever. Trinkets, which are kind of like reusable things. Like you kind of pick it up and it's like almost like a passive. You're now holding it. Or whatever, or you can use it. And then like consumables like pills and cards and stuff. There are 714 items, 188 trinkets, and a little over 100 like consumable pills and things. So that's over 1,000 items in the game. There's no way I can fucking memorize all of them. And like half of them look the same. And that's why I end up fucking using mods, or there's always been this website called Platinum God that I use that you can look up stuff just because there's like too much shit in that game. And I can't ever remember sometimes items don't gel well together. Like if you pick this item up and then pick this one up, you kind of fucked yourself just because they don't synergize very well.
I can imagine trying to balance that game around so many items was probably a huge pain in the dick too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
All right. Now we're going to answer some questions from supporters on Patreon and Twitch. Again, we've been getting better at this. I said it a few weeks ago. News-wise, right now, we kind of want to encourage you guys, if there is a news topic right now, obviously there's going to be some things that are just too big, too important for us to not devote some time on the podcast to talking about. But if there is a news topic that you specifically want to hear our thoughts or opinions on or whatever, consider framing a question about it, and we will prioritize those. We have a few tonight. We'll answer those first, and then we'll go answer some other questions. But again, just if you want to hear our opinion on something specific, consider submitting a question about it, and you can do that at any time. It doesn't have to be the day before the show. You can, if something happens, just go leave a question about it immediately, and we'll get there. So, anyways, Nolan,
what's up?
You have to talk. You're killing me, Smalls.
All right. So, first question this week from Henry from Birmingham, Alabama. E3 announced this week that they will be fully digital, free event in 2021 with the intent of an in-person event returning in 2022. What do you think about this shift? Will this event be worth having in its current form and environment, or is it possible, or is it possibly the best way to keep E3 alive in an age where companies can advertise directly to the consumer? We've kind of had this conversation before. Not last year, but the year before, was when Sony decided to skip E3 altogether. They were like, fuck it, we'll have our own casino with blackjack and hookers, and did their own thing. And you know what? It was fine. I think it's one of those things where E3
They're not going to be at this
kind
E3 either, by the way.
Correct, yeah. E3 has always kind of been, originally it was for the industry, the trade industry. It was just supposed to be like kind of like journalists and reports and blah, blah, blah. And that was it. But then as technology has changed and the event has grown and they realized they can make a little money off of it, they were like, let's have, just more and more people be able to go. And while, yes, to Chris Davis's point, I did enjoy going to E3, the spectacle. But also, it's also kind of a shit show the whole time, and it was also tiring, and people smell bad a lot, and it was very crowded. In a post-COVID world, I don't know how excited I am about events like that. But to an extent, yes, I understand from like an industry point, it is always nice to interact with people. It's one thing to email someone to talk about a game, but it's another thing when you're talking with them in person and forming kind of a bond or whatever.
Like Sony behind the scenes deals are made at E3 and events like it.
That's the whole purpose of it to begin with. It's always been this kind of thing that we as an industry have celebrated. Outsiders, like people who are not part of the industry, have celebrated because obviously they've made it in such a huge spectacle, and it is big because they make a lot of big announcements there. But it also exists to attract investors and to attract people to make business decision or agreements and stuff at these, like specifically at these events. So
yeah, I mean,
it's obviously becoming a little bit of a thing now.
You say that, but like now it's been proven that they can probably do that without E3, right?
Yeah.
Like this year, like last year, and this year, they need to be able to do those things using Zoom and remotely and stuff like that. And so the fact that the fact that they can do that and it's kind of been somewhat proven means that what is the point? Kind of.
So what I'll say,
consumer thing, that'd be cool.
What I'll say is, I think the people who the company or whatever that mastered it best was, I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 years ago, but Devolver. Their conference has always been pre-recorded and just broadcasted for the past 4 years. And you know what? It is generally the best fucking thing. And I'm not saying Sony needs to do some crazy shit with people dying and fucking weird experiments and shit. They don't need to do that. But what I'm saying is, I feel like, having this pre-recorded event where they, first off, don't have people calling in on fucking Zoom and shitty webcams because it just looks bad. And half the time the audio quality is bad and the people are fucking a little jittery because their internet's bad.
Kind of like this podcast every once in a while.
Yeah. But I think pre-recording something and just having an event, and you don't get the people in the crowds cheering. Hire 20 people and just have whatever. I think kind of just broadcasting an event like that is pretty fucking effective. And I think Sony kind of proved it the last bit of time where they've kind of shown that. I mean, Nintendo's doing their small mini Nintendo Directs, which I guess is okay. I understand that the big events are always so grand, but I think you can definitely still do it.
I do think there is a benefit behind this is the week where video game news is done, right?
Sure.
And so like the ID at Xbox thing a couple weeks ago that happened, it was like I didn't even think to watch it because it just was a random day in the middle of February or March or something like that,
Right.
And so the fact I still think there's a place for E3 in the sense of yes, going in there doing in-person demos, but do the pre-recorded showcases and stuff like that. Have people come into the room to the theaters to see it. That's fine. But yet the performative thing, other than Ubisoft's Just Dance thing every single year, which I love, in a hateful way. Other than that, just pre-record, show your video in a theater, and have your announcements be circled around this event.
I think part of the problem, at least in my perspective, is that when you have digital-only events going on like this, number one, you don't get your hands on with any of this stuff. So
Chris Davis,
mostly.
It's real fucking easy in this day and age.
Hang
timed demo.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love them to do that. But how many
bunch of indie developers did it with Steam? But Sony can definitely do that.
That is what we're going to be seeing this year. There's going to be a lot of demos made available to people who are attending.
What's up, Chris?
I get that. My big thing about it, though, is fatigue. Because I don't know if you remember what gaming news was like in June and July last year, but it was fucking constant. And it was 3-hour events weekly. I mean, keeping track of all that fucking stuff going on and it dragging out for so fucking long. I feel it would be better just to contain it to 1 week, maybe 2, and then just let there be a drought like there used to be.
And honestly, this conversation is also kind of drifting away from the fact that right now we're specifically talking about the fact that this year is forcing it to be an all digital thing as opposed and you got to think about the fact that 99.9% of the people who are listening to this are thinking about they don't give a shit if it's in person or if it's digital. All they care about is the announcement. Yeah, it's been digital for them for years.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a little bit different because it's going to be people can sign up to attend this thing and actually play demos and stuff as if they were at the event in person. Which is, and I'm honestly fascinated to see if that works. For the people who go to the show, who have been going for a long time. Some people are tired of it. Some people burn out. That's understandable. But I've always looked forward to it. And to be honest, it's kind of sad thing, but maybe that may not be a thing that happens anymore. And like Nolan said, I don't know how I feel about it right now. I mean, right now we're still kind of in COVID, so it's I can't even. I can't right now. I can't even imagine going to a movie theater, and I'm trying. We're getting there. We're so fucking close. Like the thought of going to a fucking convention freaks me out right now. But in a year from now, I might be like, I'm ready to fucking. Not to mention, it's been 2 years since I've at this. By the time the next E3 rolls around, it will have been 3 years since I was on the ground in LA at E3, and I might be like, I'm ready to go back. So I don't know.
So
There's a lot, but like there should always be a component. I mean, part of the news here that it wasn't really mentioned in this question was that like they're officially changing the name from Electronic Entertainment Expo to Electronic Entertainment Experience, and I don't know if that's going to be a permanent thing or if that's kind of a signal of the shift. But like, I feel like there should always be a part of the show going forward, whether you're there in person or you're doing it digitally, that like people can feel like they're a part of it, because I think that's a big deal. For so long, it's just been, okay, we just want to see the announcements and get on with our lives. But like, if people could kind of experience the magic of it, I feel like it would just it could go nowhere but up. It would just grow and grow. So this year is going to be really telling. It's interesting because this year it starts on a Saturday and it ends on like a Tuesday. So like we can cover it and we can go to it, quote unquote, without even necessarily having to take time off from work like we normally do, maybe. So I don't know. I'm fascinated, but I am not quite ready to say I never wanted to go back to a actual in-person event yet.
It would also be nice if there was more participation for the publishers and developers in there. Like the fact that Sony's pulled out, EA's pulled out, a number of others have pulled out. Like
I think that a lot of that has to do with how much it costs them to participate.
Yeah.
And Sony's like, we don't need to pay that amount of money. If they can make it more, if they could make it easier for publishers to participate by like basically supplementing the income that they would be losing by like not charging the publishers as much, but like letting more people pay to participate. I mean, although this year is a free event, and that's the right thing to do because COVID and everything makes it everything a pain in the dick. I don't know. There's all kinds of things they can. This at least signals that they're interested in exploring ways of freshening the experience up and changing it going forward, and that's exciting. I just hope it doesn't lose some of its magic going forward. But you know what? I'm excited. There's an actual E3 this year, which means lots of announcements. Even though Sony's not participating, they will definitely be announcing shit in June.
I mean, it's not just that's happening. It's the fact that this is the first E3 after the launch of the new consoles. Like, this is the time for publishers and developers to show, this is what we got coming, get excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we need to move to the next question.
Cool.
Nolan?
Moving on. Next question from Gigamir from Kentucky. An insider is reporting that Kojima Productions is allegedly in talks with Microsoft to fund their next project. No details on the game were included in that report. However, stories surrounding Kojima's interest in horror and Junji Ito's potential involvement have been around as recently as last year. Metal Gear Solid 5 and Death Stranding were generally well received, but both games could be seen as polarizing when compared to the reception of Kojima's past work, which was almost universally praised. Given how much they've changed over the last decade, how much confidence do you have in the current state of Koji Pro? Do you feel at all less certain in their ability to successfully pull off a game than you might have in the past?
I think they've proven themselves to be incredibly talented. I mean, they've signaled that they don't necessarily cater to what people consider to be like, mainstream expectations. Like they're not. Metal Gear was always super popular, obviously, but like Death Stranding was like out of left field, and by and large, it was a really well made game. Even if not everybody loved that style of game, I guess, but like it was a very well made video game. So I don't doubt their ability. I don't know if this signals that like we're talking about Microsoft being the exclusive publisher for his next title. That would be weird. I can't. But
I mean, I don't think it's exactly that weird. Microsoft wants to throw money at anything they possibly can these days.
Well, yeah, they're definitely trying to now, mainly just because they need stuff. And they want to be like, oh, we're the ones who did Kojima's next big game. We're the ones that made it possible or whatever.
Mhm.
And I definitely think that I'm not worried about the state of Koji Pro. I think that, Death Stranding was his first solo game. And obviously he was trying to, I don't want to say stand out, but he was kind of trying to do that kind of like, oh, these are the things I've always wanted to do and blah, blah, blah. And I like Death Stranding. I thought it was a great game. I understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I understand it had its issues, but I enjoyed it. It was one of those games where, like, not every day am I like itching to fucking grab my controller because I really want to play this game because it's like really got its hooks in me. But I was with that game. I wanted to build the next section of road. Like I was fucking trying to find materials so I could build a fucking section of road.
It was exciting to see what the community
that's
did.
Exciting.
Yeah. Also, that game had a just a vibe or a mood to it that like I had never seen anywhere else. And and his ability to do that, even in like Metal Gear, I could say the same thing about Metal Gear. Even Metal Gear Solid 5 had a mood or a vibe to it that was totally different than every Metal Gear that came before it. Even if that game wasn't the greatest, it was unique. It was wholly unique. And they have not done anything yet to make me think that they're not like that they're slowing down, because whatever their next project is, I'm like 99% sure it's going to be crazy and unique. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, that's all the questions that were kind of news related that we're going to go to this week. But we have a few other questions that are less news related and just general questions. Let's do this older one from the Drunken Merchant. What are the best quality of life improvements added to any game series, either by a sequel or a mod hack? I recently played a hack for Majora's Mask that puts all 3 transformation masks and your ocarina on the D-pad, freeing up your C buttons for other items.
Isn't that, he mentioned Majora's Mask, I immediately thought of the Ocarina of Time 3DS port where you could put the iron boots on by tapping the bottom screen. Revolutionized that game. Yeah. Revolutionized that video game.
I think a lot of older games, like A Link to the Past, that remake, did the same thing, because A Link to the Past, you could only have like 2 items or whatever. And so, yeah, that included like your sword and shield. Those were items. And so, yeah, I think older good games that were limited by the fact that there was only so many buttons on controllers back in the day definitely have found new life in either remakes or mods or whatever. I think a lot of the times, like emulating games can benefit as well, just because you now have so many more buttons that you can do.
I think of Devil May Cry 3 when they introduced the special edition, and then you were suddenly able to switch between the stances, the fighting styles on the fly. Before you had to like commit to one before a mission, and that was kind of the one you were stuck with, if I remember correctly. So that was a real game changer in that game.
I think in Dark Souls, there's a mod. So when you died, it said "Thanks, Obama." That was fantastic. Huge quality of life improvement.
My life was better.
I love like those that will allow you to roll a character at a higher level, or like start you at the beginning of the expansion rather than you having to like grind through the entire game from scratch. World of Warcraft did that for a while, and now their levels are even smaller. They did a big squish where they have the levels.
Making the first 2 entire portions of Final Fantasy XIV free until a certain level was a quality of life improvement.
No,
Nick, with you playing Final Fantasy,
another one would be, and I can't think of a specific game. I know there's plenty, but just like kind of Ed had mentioned, letting you like re-roll a character. But I think it's like there's certain games where it's like, oh, you can pay X amount of in-game money to essentially just kind of restart from scratch. Because a lot of the times in games like those, you start going down some path, some skill tree, and you're like, I actually don't really like this as much as I thought I would. And just the ability to kind of be like, all right, I'm going to reverse all that, with either A, being for free is nice, but B, having you have some sort of, you have to pay, like, oh, it costs 10,000 in-game monies to whatever to re-roll your character.
Every time you do it costs more and more and more, but the first time you do it, it's like pretty cheap.
Sure, I like that concept, just mainly because, and I think some of the like Dark Souls games had that, but I like that just because a lot of the time I just feel like I'm fucking stuck down this path and I have to replay the game if I want to change it.
You want to talk about quality of life improvements? I was just gonna. I feel like you kind of have to mention Part 2's like accessibility options. Like, holy fuck, you can make that game whatever you want it to be.
Oh, Nick, even better. Nick, this is one I'm surprised you haven't mentioned yet. The fact that in the ports of the Final Fantasy games, the more recent ones, the fact that you can manipulate time to go 2, 3, or even 4 times the speed.
Oh yeah.
Any RPG with grinding, and some games don't even just have that in like the ports. Like just some of the OG games will just let you
that's a
fast forward time.
Feature Bravely Default. But
yeah,
all 3 of those games are like you can press plus, and you can like even do like auto attack ones when you are grinding and you just equip really strong weapons, and then you can just attack, and that's the only thing.
You know why? Because they respect the player's time.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Any game that respects my time, I love it.
Fire Emblem 3 Houses, the rewind mechanic that they introduced was nice, rather because like the way I like to play the game is I don't like anyone to die, right? So if someone dies, being able to rewind back to the previous turn so that I can keep them alive without having to restart the entire mission again.
You mean nice. Save scumming without actually save scumming?
It's part of the game mechanics, man.
Don't shame save scummers
on my top 10 or my number 1 last year, so I'm a fan.
Let's move on. This next question, there's one you highlighted, Nick, but I'm pretty sure we already answered this one.
It's
the
possible.
KNC Cito's question about PS3 and PSP and Vita stores closing and whatever. We went over those. I will say it is pretty funny. I do remember, I think it was last week, when we had a similar question, not this one. I think there was a different question that was basically the same one. But I started looking up. I'm like, what are some Vita games I shouldn't miss? And I was thinking about it, and I do own a couple, but I was like, let me Google this real quick. And I found that, top 10 Vita games you don't want to miss. And like 8 out of the 10 are like available on like PC or on like PS4. And I'm like, if this is not an exclusive, I'm not gonna miss it if I don't pick it up on the Vita. Yes, Uncharted Golden Abyss. Yes, that is one that you can't play on anything else. That is an example of a game you're going to miss. But something I can't remember, Patapon. It's like, dude, I can fucking buy Patapon on like Steam. Like, what are you talking about?
Are you gonna miss Uncharted Golden Abyss though?
If you don't play it on Vita, yes. I'm not saying I'm going to miss it, but you're going to miss out on playing it. I'm not saying it's a great game.
What about that Persona 3 port that was with the female protagonist?
Oh, you know that one? On Steam. What are y'all talking about? Yes. Are you talking about Persona 3 FES or not FES? Yeah, FES was the Persona 3. Are you talking about Persona 4 Golden?
I don't know. Whichever one had the female protagonist instead of the male.
Yeah, you can play that on. I'm pretty sure
I didn't even that one on. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Interesting.
Persona 3 female.
I'm fairly certain that's only on the Vita with PSP though.
Persona. That's on PSP, I think.
Yeah, FES is.
Magic here says Persona 3 portable, only PSP and Vita.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's one example. Sorry, we've named like 2. And that's what I'm saying. Like, but once again, also, yes, the only difference is, it's like the FES version or whatever, and then you can play as the lady. But it's honestly not that big of a difference. I don't think if you were to play Persona 3 Portable versus Persona 3 FES or whatever, you're going to be like, oh, my life has changed. Like
Metal Gear Acid?
Okay, yeah, Metal Gear Acid. That's one. All right, let's move on though, because like I said, we did already kind of talk about this. Zero Skies asks, now that Monster Hunter Rise is out and you've played it, so you've given it a go, what do you think about all the streamlining they've done and single armor? Oh, we can't answer this question.
Yeah, this is
let's re-ask this one when Brad's around, because none of us are Monster Hunter experts.
Literally none of us.
Yeah. Awful Bowler Worse Lover 85.
I love that name. It's misspelled. It should be Worst Lover, or no, actually, no, that's right. Awful Bowler Worst Lover 85.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
What classical painting would you enjoy living in?
The Scream? Is that what it's called?
Don't say the Scream. You would not enjoy living in that. That would literally be an eternity of a guy fucking all wavy screaming. How would you enjoy living in that?
What's the one with the farmer and his like wife?
Oh, American Gothic.
Yeah.
American Gothic.
That's like a. Yeah, it's something about like not like Manifest Destiny, but like
I'm not cultured enough to answer this.
It's something like that.
Starry Night. That's perfect.
Starry Night's peaceful.
American Gothic. There you go.
That painting is called American Gothic?
Yeah.
The first one that comes to my mind, and I can't ever remember the name of it because it's like a long name, but it's like a Sunday afternoon on something island or whatever. It's if you've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it's that painting where it's like the whole painting is made up of dots, which is like cool about it. But it's the one where they're just chilling out by like a little like
by the
river
pond
thing. Yeah, and it just seems so fucking peaceful. Everyone's like having like a picnic, and ladies have their parasols and stuff. That seems like that'd be a fucking great
Victorian women. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's dogs in there somewhere.
I would actually.
Dogs.
Oh, you talking about the dogs playing poker, Nick? That actually might be a good one.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play poker. What I?
You'd have to play with the dogs.
Yeah.
Well, they probably don't know how to play poker either. So
they do. They know how to play, but their tail is very easy. Their tails just wag.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, we got a good one. What is that other one? Yeah, that one, Boner Killer. Sunday on Le Grand or something like that. It's something like that. Anyway, what is the one? There's like one with like a diner. And it's like a very dark hold on.
is it the one where
I don't know if it's technically classical. Yeah, see, you know.
And the lights coming out of the window?
Yeah.
Nighthawks. That's what's called. Nighthawks.
I don't know if that's classical, but wait, what did you say?
Yeah, Chris Davis is right. Nighthawks from 1942. I mean, I don't know if that's classical, but it's definitely old. That one would be a nice one, just like a chill diner. Yeah.
So Boner Killer, like literally none of these paintings reference are classical. I think he was being specific, like he's like an art history major, and he's like, this is specifically.
Well, so you need to define the word classical. What is a classical painting? Hold on. What
he's writing a
classical?
Is this podcast painting? Nolan Googles things? Because that's what
yes. Classicism. Give me dates. I'm
gonna be honest. In college, art history was like one of my least favorite classes because
let's not help this guy out with his essay. We've given our answers. Let's move on.
Hey, I think we answered.
So hold on. So hold on. According to Wikipedia.org, clearly the best source of data. Part of a series on classicism, there are different classical periods. You have your Greco-Roman, your Age of Enlightenment, which is the neoclassicism, economics, music, physics. But you have your 20th century neoclassicism. So between World War I and World War II, ballet, economics, music. So I don't think the Sunday. Right? Yeah, I mean, I don't know who awful bowler, worst lover, even worse question asker should have defined what he meant by classical painting.
Damn, shots fired. We appreciate your patronage.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my
god. So I think that's probably all the questions we're going to get to this week. Thanks everybody for asking your questions. If you asked one and we have not answered it, we will get to it eventually. Awful Bowler, if you want to ask again with a more specified question, we'll answer.
Thanks everyone for asking your question, except for that one guy.
Until he writes a better question. Okay. Anyways,
well, maybe it's also Boner Killer being a dick, saying none of our answers are good enough.
Yeah, that guy's probably like, no, I really don't care.
What is the one classical painting that's like a bowl of fruit? Yeah, I want to live in that one with the fruit.
Well, what about the guy in the suit with the bowler hat and just the apple in front of his face?
Isn't that
that's one worth it.
Who's the paint of that one? The artist.
I forget.
When you mentioned the painting of the bowl of fruit, wasn't there a skit with Danny Glover?
You're referring to the comedy one. Yeah, don't jerk off to this.
Where they're all trying to steal the painting of the bowl of fruit so they could jerk off to it.
Chris Davis is referring to "Son of Man" by Renee Magritte, whatever. Yeah, Nick. Now bring me the painting, so I can jerk off to it. Yeah, no, that's a pretty good one. He wouldn't even jerk off to it. It doesn't even have like a sexy orange. Yeah,
that's a classic. That's a classic. All right, guys.
So like we talk about that like that's like it's nothing. For anybody who doesn't know, Derek Glover, Childish Gambino, before he got big, I guess Community was his.
You said Derek Glover.
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
Sorry. Sorry. The reason I said that was because Derek Comedy was his YouTube channel. Sorry, that's the way that's the reason I thought that. So anyway, Danny, not Danny Glover. No, Donald. That's not his name.
Donald
Glover. Yeah.
We're all wrong. Danny Glover.
Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, before he got big on Community, had a YouTube series called Derek Comedy. I would highly recommend looking it up. They are all gold. The bicycle one is fantastic, where he hires like a sniper to kill his parents because they didn't buy him a bike. There's the very, very racist spelling bee, which is fantastic. There's the keyboard kid. Dude, keyboard kid's great too. With the kid who's I don't want to get into it now because it might not be appropriate. But the mouth-based video game skit, dude, some of them are classic. Highly recommend looking it up.
Was that the same YouTube channel where I forgot what it was, where he keeps opening the backpack and he's like, this backpack is full of big black dildos. Is that?
Yeah. That's a Derek Comedy video. Yeah.
Y'all should all watch those.
Right, I'm going down a rabbit hole tonight.
Yes,
do it. I will say a lot of them are going to be like 360p bad quality just because they're so old.
That's okay.
But they're very good.
It's part of the experience.
They're very good though. All right, let's wrap up the show with the 4-player minute.
His name like wrong 4 times.
I said Childish Gambino.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Nick was throwing me off because I was thinking of Derek Comedy.
Oh right,
Nick said Danny Glover.
Sorry, it's Daniel Glover. I'm sorry. No, sorry. Nobody tell Donald Glover that we butchered his name so bad. Let's wrap up with the 4-player minute. Hype, sweat, thank you, fuck you. Any combination thereof. It got really quiet in here all of a sudden. We were laughing, having a good time, and then it just got super quiet. Okay. I'm gonna
respecting you as the host, Nick.
I'm gonna let Ed start this week.
Okay.
Okay, maybe not. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
You're on my shit list. Go ahead, Ed.
My hype is for finishing Bravely Default 2 and starting Monster Hunter Rise or in Atelier Ryza, all that stuff. Really, really enjoying Switch being my JRPG machine. So I hope to keep that up. My sweat is for Deathloop. It got delayed to September. And, I'm fine with delays. I'm perfectly good with a game getting delayed and then it coming out in better shape later. But just a little worried about it. That's it. My thank you goes to the nurse who vaccinated me.
There we go.
And actually the real thank you is to my wife who got me the vaccine appointment. She scheduled me. She got me one in Waco first, which is about 2 hours north of us, right? Yeah. And I'd have to go back in a couple weeks to get it again. And we're like sitting a couple hours later. She's like refreshing Walgreens, and she got me one on Lamar Boulevard, 10 minutes away from here. So
nice. I got mine on Lamar.
So yeah, I'm very happy that she managed to get that for me, and I will be immune the day before her birthday. So.
Nice.
We'll be having a big throwdown for that.
Orgy?
So, yeah, big orgy.
We're immune, guys. Time to have an orgy.
What's the last one? The fuck you is that?
Yeah, sure. Or you can say another thank you or not. You can do whatever you want.
Okay, so my thank you is to Chris Davis for that wonderful oratory or being a wonderful orator and giving us his impressions on Days Gone. And that I thought it was cool.
I could probably go on for another 3 pages, but I tried
maybe
to
not
trim it
maybe
down.
not appropriate for podcast material, but I thought it was good.
I think it worked out for for this episode, anyways, I think it made sense
Yeah,
and it worked.
I also expected it to be like something way worse, and I was just so excited to.
I was really nervous. I was like, maybe I should have screened this before I agreed to let him do this.
Yeah, I messaged Nick on Discord at 2:00. Said, "Yeah, I've got a bit of a shtick I'm going to do tonight. Just don't worry about it. It's going to be okay."
No,
I immediately
this
broke
isn't
out
OnlyFans. I don't know if you should be doing shticks on the podcast.
I immediately broke out into hives when you told me that he had a shtick tonight. I was like, I don't know, should I let him do it? But he delivered. All right, Chris Davis, how about you go next?
Okay. Well, my hype this week is the same as it's been for several weeks in the past. Godzilla vs. Kong. I saw it in the IMAX last week. It was fucking great. I'm seeing it again with a bunch of friends at a private Alamo theater I'm renting this Saturday, which y'all are welcome to attend if you want. Just throw me $15 and you're in. My sweat. Okay. Analog, the company that specializes in very high-end retro consoles. Tomorrow morning, they are going to open up orders for the absolute last stock they have of their NT Mini, and they're never going to produce those ever again, as far as anybody can tell. And I really want one because I already have a Super NT for Super Nintendo, and I have a Mega SG for my Sega Genesis stuff. But I have like 30 NES games, and I have no way to actually play those cartridges. But at the same time, I really am not certain if this is a good point in the year for me to spend $500. Let alone...
That is almost a PlayStation 5.
I know. Actually, it is a PlayStation 5. Yeah, so I really want one, and I don't see another console coming along for a good while that plays NES stuff, at least to this quality, apart from the Poly Mega, which who knows if that's ever going to come out. So I don't know if I really want to pull the trigger, if I can get one for that matter. My thank you goes to everyone here and in chat who listened to my monologue. If you legit think this was a good idea for me, I would like to do it in the future. But please do leave a comment for feedback next week. I want to know what people think. And my fuck you goes to that fucking IMAX lady. When I was in the movie,
oh no,
there was it's a theater for about 400 or 500 people. At the Bob Bullock, and there was about 150 of us total in there, and it was spread out in rows, so it was fairly spread out. Nobody was near anybody else, except if you had a family. 2 rows down from me, this fucking lady brought in her 4 sub 10-year-old kids and her fucking newborn to watch an IMAX big ass monster movie on screen. And granted, the baby was surprisingly decently behaved. There was no screaming or anything, but
the child was deaf at that point.
maybe it was. But Jesus Christ, why the fuck do you bring a newborn to an IMAX? Fuck off.
Yeah, and that was your first movie going experience in a year, right?
Over a year.
Yeah.
I'm not certain I saw anything in 2020.
Damn.
I think the last movie I saw in theaters was The Rise of Skywalker.
Damn.
Yeah.
Think about this. I keep seeing this pop up on Twitter, and every time I see it, I'm like, oh my God, that's true. For some people, the last movie they saw in theaters was Cats.
Oh. That's enough to poison you.
Unfortunately for them, it wasn't even the Cat's Butthole edition. That would have at least been worth it.
All right, Nolan, your turn.
Is that the Snyder cut of Cats?
Yes.
That's not a joke. There was literally a version of that movie where all the cats had buttholes, but then they had to go back and digitally remove the buttholes.
Oh, God.
There's a version of that movie that exists where all the cats have buttholes.
Ooh. It's probably on the Blu-ray.
Nick.
I don't
think they're ever going to release it, but no, you can't see it. It doesn't exist. I'm sure someone did a Photoshop, but okay. Oh goodness, I had a hype, but I lost it. I wrote everything else down but my hype. What am I excited about? Oh, I remember. My hype is for our Monster Hunter game night next week. I'm excited about that. We've only played it the one time with the demo when it was me and Brad, Nick, and Crispy. I'm excited to do another night of that to kind of now that we've all. Now is that it's not just Brad and Crispy that have a little bit of experience with Monster Hunter, but all of us will have had enough to actually enjoy the evening instead of me just standing back and saying, "What do I do?" I'm excited to play it. My sweat goes to the Binding of Isaac Repentance. It is out. It has a lot of stuff. Probably want to play it a bunch more just because I really enjoy that game. My thank you goes to Bernadette for playing It Takes Two with me, and so far being a real champ. I'm hoping that we continue playing that game and everything goes well. I will be as patient and as caring and as supportive as I can be.
I almost feel like it's like she wrote this prepared statement and he's like reading it.
As patient
and then my
as that book is, right?
Jesus. And my fuck you, it was gonna go to my PC. I guess I could give it to that fucking book, but I wasn't gonna say it's to my. I don't know what the problem was. My PC fans. I reinstalled a bunch of like my OS a while back, and I guess I had missed some software that I used to have for like doing some tweaking of the PC fans. So this is my system fan and CPU fan. And so I tried to reinstall that and like everything got fucked. And all of a sudden my CPU fans were like ramping up to like their peak like speed and then going back down and up and down. And like, I don't think I have it like 100%. I kind of have it a little bit better, but it's just like super annoying. I can't figure out what I did. And I go into like the BIOS and try and tweak it there and it's giving me issues. It's just super fucking frustrating. So fuck you to whoever fuck that me. But yeah, that's it.
Alrighty. Thank you, Nolan.
What's up, Ed?
I remembered what a fuck you. I was gonna say fuck you to the chip shortage. It's contributing to so many problems. So many problems. Yeah. Chris reminded me the Analog Pocket is delayed shipping because
cars are having issues because they need chips for cars. It's across the board.
It's a special type of chip that cars use that it's not like compatible with like this, and so like they like had a stockpile at one point, and then they kind of went to just in time deployment, and then the pandemic screwed all that up, and all these factories don't want to scale up their production of these special type of chips that only work in cars. So it's a mess. It's a mess. I'm glad I don't work in an industry that depends on chips like that. Instead, I just steal a bunch of chips from the cloud from AWS.
Dude, that Analog Pocket is really fucking cool, though.
It is super cool. It plays Game Boy Advance games, and something
Game
else.
Gear.
Game Gear, yeah, that's right. I'm jealous that I didn't get into pre-order. And
I just wish I had Game Boy and Game Gear games to play so I could buy one.
Yeah, Nick.
All right, my 4-player minute starts now. I have 2 hypes and 2 thank yous, and I would like to first apologize to Donald Glover for fucking his name up so bad. I really do like Donald Glover a lot. I'm so sorry. My first.
Have you seen Atlanta?
No, but it's on my list.
Dude, watch it. He is fantastic in that show.
Noted.
It's all about that paper boy.
My first hype goes to a game called Death's Door, which was announced last week. It's from this team Acid Nerve, the guys that made Titan Souls, which was on my top 10 the year that it came out, which was excellent. This game looks, you play like a little Grim Reaper who's a crow, I think, and I don't know, it just looks like it has a ton of charm, ton of atmosphere. It just looks fun as hell. You should go look at it. It's called Death's Door, and if you haven't played Titan Souls, you should. It's incredible. My second hype goes to Dexter. They started filming in the town today where they've been filming out in the woods for so long, and someone snapped the first photo of Michael C. Hall on the set of Dexter, and I was like, oh my god, it's happening. Anyways, sorry. My first thank you this week goes to Arcane. Kind of on the flip side of Ed's, I am also a little worried about Deathloop, just because delays are always, a little nerve-wracking, but at the same time, I appreciate developers who are willing to delay their game and not rush get out the door. So thank you for taking the time. And not to mention it's COVID, so we're going to be seeing a lot of delays. In fact, we're now seeing games that were delayed last year finally starting to come out. So it's just
it's it's good that they're doing it now instead of like in May, weeks before it's supposed to come out.
Exactly. So May was getting pretty crowded anyways. So I'll take September. And my second thank you goes to Chris Davis for playing Days Gone. Not only playing Days Gone, but apparently not sleeping, because he blew through that game. I was worried. I was like, oh no, he's gonna play it like super fast and then come back and be like, I did not like this game. And I was like, I'm over here, I'm playing it for like 100 hours, and he's like, I finished it in 25, and this game sucks. I was worried about that, but you know what? He played through it like a champ. He spent 51 hours in it. I respect that. You know what?
We had a silent agreement between us. I would play Days Gone. You would watch Godzilla vs. Kong, and it worked out fine.
And I did, and I do apologize for not really enjoying Godzilla vs. Kong, but I watched it, so there's that. And I thought our silent agreement would have more been, I play 13 Sentinels, which I did buy, and it's sitting over there and it's waiting.
I mean, that's already expected. That's going to happen.
Yes, I do intend to play that. So, anyways, guys, that's our show. Ed, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
We'll have you back soon. And thank you guys out there for listening. 4playernetwork.com is the website, of course. You can find us on Discord at discord.gg/4player. And if you want to support us financially, ask us questions every week, get early access to the podcast, go to patreon.com/4player, or you can subscribe to us on Twitch, of course. So join us next week for our Monster Hunter Rise multiplayer night. It'll be fun. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another podcast. So until then, stay safe, get vaccinated, wash your hands, and wear a mask for a little while longer. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, guys.